Hello, hello. We are back. Happy Monday. I hope you guys had a good day. We're back to covering Diddy. But before I get started, can you see me? Can you hear me? Are we good? We're good. We're going to cover Diddy day 13 and 14. 14 was today. Hey, Chief. Good to see you. We left off on, I believe, Mia testifying. And hello, Abuelita's Journey. Good to see you. Thanks for being here, guys. Happy Monday. Like I said, I hope you guys had a good day. Welcome to all the new viewers, new subbies, my friends, all the return viewers, all the chatters. It's so fun here. So thank you for being here. Like I said, we're going to be covering Diddy. Day 13, 14, Mia's testified. I know there's a lot going on. They're saying she was exposed by the defense. All kinds of craziness. I have not caught up, so we're catching up together. And then I do have a new AI clip, the continuing Cassie testifying. So I do want to watch that as well. I'm going to pull it up on the screen. Okay, so let's get started. Let's get right into it. I'm also covering Karen Reed, so we'll be covering that later. Over on that live, make sure you check it all out. Check out the playlist, all of the above. Okay, so let me know. Are you guys covering Diddy? What is going on? What do you think? I've heard that possibly a lot of people are changing their opinion about whether they think he's going to walk or not. That's a scary thought. I'm not sure. Maybe I'll have a different opinion now, but after we read through these things, let's get started. So I'm reading it from CNN, and I'm going to start from the bottom because it starts from the morning. So I know it's a little odd, but I'd rather just go in order. So we left off on the ex-assistant describing alleged essay by Combs. Mia, that's her pseudonym, who worked as Combs' personal assistant from 2009 until 2017. We're back to her. CNN has this thing that says, Suge Knight says Diddy should take the stand to humanize himself. In prison, former rap mogul Marlon Suge Knight, who for decades share an acronymous relationship with Diddy, said his longtime arch rival should take the stand in trial. Speaking to Laura Coates from prison, he's serving a 28-year sentence for a deadly hit and run in 2015. Knight said he believes Combs should humanize himself. I feel if he do tell his truth, he really would walk, Knight says. If Puffy goes up there and says, hey, I did all the rugs, I wasn't in control of my life at the time or myself, he can humanize his old self and the jury might give him a shot. But if they keep him sitting down, it's like he's scared to face the music, Knight added. He should have his faith in God, put up his pants, and go up there and tell his truth. Wow. I'm a little surprised by that. Hey, Winnie. Hey, Barry. Hey, Barrywood. Hey, Dustin. And hello, Richard. Good to see you all. Thank you for being here. We're just covering Diddy Day 13, which was Friday. Is it Friday? Yeah, it was Friday. And then we're going to cover Day 13, and we're going to watch a clip. So thanks for popping in and hanging out. Let's see. Anonymous Diddy employee will resume testimony this morning. We don't know who it is. I know allegedly she got doxxed today by the defense. I'm not sure of all the details, and I'm definitely not going to, I don't know her name. So we're not going to say that here. And if you do know it, that's wild because I don't know her name. Do you guys know who it is? Let me know in the chat. A former employee of Diddy Combs is set to resume testimony this morning. Prosecutors call a witness identified as Mia, a pseudonym being used in court to protect her identity, to the stand yesterday at the federal crime trial. Mia, a former assistant for Diddy, described what she called a chaotic and toxic work environment, testifying that Diddy committed acts of violence and SA against her. If you or someone you know is struggling with intimate partner violence, just discusses how he can help Diddy's lawyers get more time with their client. I've been saying his name wrong. I was saying Arun. I don't think that's how it's pronounced. I'm sorry, but Judge Subramanian is on the bench and he's working through some issues with the lawyers before the jury is brought in. He is discussing how he can get Diddy's lawyers more time to prepare outside of trial hours. Defense attorneys have previously raised concern that their teams didn't have enough time to discuss the trial with Diddy given restrictions at the Metropolitan Detention Center. Prosecutors want to show the jury charts of hotel and flight records. Hey, Dodge. Hey, Fort Willen. I liked the hangout last night. It was so fun. Yeah, we do that. We do like Bentley After Darks and just hang out. I had a lot of fun. So thanks for being there, for all of you that were there. We do this a couple of nights a week. Probably not every night. Sometimes I do every night. Just depends on my schedule, but thank you. Glad you guys were there. So it says prosecutors and defense attorneys are still discussing evidentiary issues before the jury is brought in for the day. This includes summary charts that prosecutors want to use later at trial to show the jury hotel and flight records related to the case. Diddy's former assistant is back on the stand. Former employee says she was desperate to keep a best friend dynamic with Diddy. You know, I know there's a lot of backlash on that. Like, did you get to work? Absolutely. I was very productive today. No, really, I was. It was a long day, but I'm good. So I did make it to work. Thank you, Ailini. I appreciate that. So I know there's a lot of backlash because, you know, she was saying things like, I love you to Diddy and stuff. And there's that whole dynamic of, domestic violence and whatnot. So, I think, what is like Stockholm syndrome? You get used to and you fear for your life. So you have to kind of conform when you're going through that situation, I think. So we just want to keep that in mind. Like, we're not here to diss Mia at all or anything like that. And if you think that she's lying, I know a lot of people think she's lying. That's cool. Opinions are welcome. So, but let's be cool about it. Assistant U.S. Attorney Madison Smizer asked the former assistant testifying in Diddy's trial why she would write "love you" in the text messages to the music mogul after being essayed by him. Mia says, because it's just how we talked to each other. When the dynamic would shift to the best friend dynamic, you're desperate to keep it there because you're safe. That's kind of what I was just saying. Former assistant Mia describes a moment she says Cassie learned Diddy was cheating on her. Mia testified that Diddy told her to go to South Africa with Cassie in October of 2015 while Cassie was shooting a movie. While they were there, Cassie found out that Diddy was cheating on her when she saw a video of him with another female, Mia said. She was devastated, Mia testified. They were on the phone, and then at one point she didn't want to speak with him, so she stopped answering his calls, she said. Mia testified that Diddy tried to get her and another one of his employees, Christina Courtroom, and others to reach out to Cassie to get her on the phone. I was put in the middle, said Mia. Diddy taking Suge's advice and testifying is a risky proposition. He is going to testify, right? Do we think he is, or did they say if he is or not? This is Diddy in the courtroom today. We'll just kind of cover this. A CNN legal analyst who's in the courtroom says Diddy would have a lot of explaining to do. Jackson points out that while the testimony come out of Diddy's trial has been graphic and telling of his alleged behavior, the jury needs to hear more in order to stand up to the RICO charges against the music mogul. When you put a defendant on the stand, it just becomes about him, Jackson said. The defense can make an argument saying this guy's a horrible guy, but is he a racketeer? Was he engaged in continuous course of conduct that makes him a criminal of an underboss? So that's going to be a problem and why you may want to keep him off. Let me know in the chat too if you think that the state has, built a good case of RICO charges against him. I know a lot of people are like, this just proves he's a rug abuser and he was manipulative and violent with his partners. She would not have done that if it was just Joe Schmo. Hollywood is full of bad people. I agree. Geez, I hope he testifies more from him. For self-incrimination. Yeah. I don't know if he's going to testify. It's going to be wild if he does. And yeah, he does have a lot of explaining to do. Combs' former assistant got threatening texts and calls for days as Diddy tried to get to Cassie. The jury saw a series of messages between Mia and Diddy's chief of staff, Christina Courtroom, about Diddy angrily demanding to speak to Mia so he could get to Cassie. Courtroom repeatedly texted and called Mia in the overnight hours while Mia and Ventura were asleep. Mia eventually answered Courtroom on October 26, 2015, after she said she spoke to Diddy on the phone. He doesn't sound in the right mind at the moment. Any reasoning should be in the AM your time, Mia wrote. Mia testified when she spoke to Diddy before sending that message. Diddy was irate, forgetting what he was talking about, slurring quite a bit, saying irrational things. Mia said Diddy was threatening her job, threatened to unalive her, lots of threats, telling me he was on the phone with HR, even though I knew that wasn't true. The repeated calls and texts through Courtroom, who was being pressured by Diddy, continued for days. Is KK coming up to the stand? We need to hear from her. I want to hear from her. What was the alternative through a heap of lesser charges in front of a grand jury and see if any sticks? Difficult to navigate 20 years of crime. Yeah. Jury sees messages of Diddy threatening to tell everything. The jury saw messages between Diddy and Mia, one of the assistant, on October 31st, 2015, when she was still in South Africa with Cassie. Quote unquote, if you don't call me now, F it all, and I'm going to tell everything, and don't ever speak me again. You have 2 minutes. F her, call my house now or never, speak to me again. F ABC and all lawyers. Let's go to war, Combs wrote in the message. Mia testified that Diddy was threatening to tell Cassie about the essay, but with a different framing, as though it was my fault or that I had a part in it. Mia said that ABC had recently purchased rights to a comedy show she had written. She said it was the most exciting thing that's ever happened in my life, and he's threatening to take that away. In the messages, Mia responded saying Cassie was busy and Diddy to give her more time. I'm begging you, she said in the messages. She just texted you. She just says she needs time to change. Please. She needs the time to change. Please just be nice on the phone, she wrote. Diddy then sent a series of more than 10 messages telling her to call him before sending a message saying in part, quote unquote, I've come to the conclusion it's best that we no longer have any feelings. Wow. Mia says describes tiptoeing around the rapper. Mia testified that she emailed Diddy a few times asking him to tell her what to do after he threatened her job if she didn't leave South Africa, where she had been with Cassie while Cassie was shooting a movie. The fees to change her flight were expensive, she said, so she emailed that she couldn't afford it herself. She paid for her flights to South Africa and with her own money, she wrote in the email. I need to make sure I'm following your instructions correctly, she wrote, and also told him that Cassie was upset and didn't want her to leave early. Diddy, who didn't respond to the emails, had directed Mia to go with Cassie to South Africa, she testified. She told Diddy that she loved him more than once in the email. I want to stay with Cass, but I don't want to make him mad, Mia testified. I'm tiptoeing. That's the way I would survive, so I didn't make him more mad or make him think that I thought what he was doing was wrong. It didn't matter what I wanted or what anyone else wanted. It matters what he wants and who was in charge, said Mia. Do we believe Mia? Hey, Stubbs, good to see you. Hey, Killa. Welcome back. Sugar's a shitty gangster, only idiot with figures. Mia says she was suspended several times from her job. Mia testified she was suspended several times from her job for different reasons, including falling asleep, after being awake for days and reacting to one of Diddy's violent episodes. The former Diddy assistant said she was suspended without pay in March of 2011 after Diddy had asked her to pick out clothing options for him and place them in different parts of his room. When Diddy arrived and only saw some of the clothing options in the closet, he, quote unquote, just began cursing me out and getting angrier and going on a rant about the lack of options and how he hated certain things, Mia testified. She tried to point out the other options and offered to get him more, but Mia said that made him even more irate. He was just screaming and cursing at me and wouldn't stop, she said. Mia testified something violent happened between them but couldn't recall specific details. Wait, what? If it was super violent, I'm confused. She can't remember? Maybe they were like drunk or something. The jury saw an email Mia received from Human Resources following the incident, noting she was suspended without pay for 5 days. Mia testified she was told her suspension was because Diddy said I was being insubordinate. I was scared of him, Mia says. She tried to run away from her job from working for Diddy, but before she eventually left in 2017, but it never worked. She said she felt that if she left, she would never be able to get a job somewhere else. Quote unquote, he would have made sure that Mia said he would destroy my reputation. I was scared of him. We hear that from a lot of the quote unquote alleged victims, right? He was just blackmailing the heck out of everyone. Mia says she felt betrayed when Diddy shut down the film company she worked for, but didn't tell her himself. Mia testified about 2016 meeting she had with Brian Afut, who was then the chief operating officer of Diddy Combs Enterprises. At that time, Mia was working for Revolt Films, which was part of Diddy's enterprises. Out of the blue, he just said, I hate to tell you this, but I talked to Diddy and he no longer wants to be involved with the film. So he basically wants to end Revolt Films, Mia testified. She said she was in shock and felt confused because Diddy had recently told her the filming company was the only one that had made money that year. She said she also felt betrayed and rejected by the fact that Diddy wasn't telling her himself. Mia said she had been working on a Bad Boy documentary at the time of the meeting, and she continued to work on the documentary through early 2017 before she left. She said Diddy and other employees reached out to her after the documentary was finished, but she was too heartbroken to answer. Diddy's ex-assistant, Mia, describes being kicked off of a yacht for counting money too slowly. Hey. Mia testified she was on the yacht with Diddy and Kim Porter and his family in St. Bart's for New Year's Eve 2010 into 2011. Combs angrily told her to get off the boat because she was counting the money in the safe too slowly, she said. He told me, you better learn to walk on water like Jesus, bitch. Get the F out of here, Mia said. Mia hid on the boat away from Diddy before she eventually got a crew member to take her to the shore. Once she got there, the yacht crew radioed Diddy, saying Diddy wants her back to the boat. Mia testified she didn't want to, but obeyed Puff's orders. Plans quickly changed again, and Diddy, threatening Mia's job, said she had to go with him on a jet to Las Vegas. Mia testified she thought she would be fired, so she went. Mia says Diddy believed she stabbed him in the back after she hired employment attorneys. Mia testified she hired employment attorneys in 2017 to help her negotiate severances and bonuses, leading to months of negotiations. She said Christina Korn, the former chief staff for Diddy, spoke with her on behalf of Diddy, who believed Mia stabbed him in the back by hiring the lawyers. Mia's attorneys originally made a settlement offer of $10 million to Diddy and his company, she testified. After months-long negotiation process, Mia said they settled for around $400,000 and she received about $200,000. Around that time, Mia said she told some people about the violence she endured from Diddy during her employment, but she didn't want the SA assaults. She didn't mention the SA assaults. She testified that she would have died without information if it weren't for Diddy's federal crime case. So she said she would have never reported it if this wouldn't have gone to trial. I have to walk away from money to retain it. Yeah, do we think Diddy's innocent in this? Like with the RICO charges? I mean, clearly he's not innocent of putting his hands on females like that. We know that. But I don't know. I know people think that she wasn't being very honest on the stand, and I haven't got to that part yet, but I don't know what to think. I'm a little concerned. And then I heard like the president wants to pardon Diddy. Is that true? Did I really hear that right? Shook. Former employee reached out to Diddy after the mother of three of his children passed away. The next time Mia spoke to Diddy was after the settlement when Kim Porter, the mother of his children, died in November 2018. She said she would reach out to him occasionally, like on Porter's birthday or when his close friend passed away. I felt so terrible for him and his family, she said. Mia said she and Cassie, Diddy's former girlfriend, still keep in touch, but the frequency of their conversation varies. She said they last spoke on the phone about a month ago and most recently texted a few days ago. She confirmed they have not discussed their testimony in the case. Mia says he called her after Cassie filed lawsuit, but she never answered. After Cassie filed her lawsuit against Diddy in November of 2023, Diddy's longtime security guard known as D-Rock texted Mia for the first time in 2 years. He wrote, quote unquote, a lot has been going on and said he would call her, Mia testified. On the call, D-Rock brought up the lawsuit, she said. Then he changed it to, yeah, it's real crazy what's going on, Mia recalled him saying. Because, like Puff and Cass, they just would fight like a normal couple. Is that a normal couple, like what he was doing in the hallway? Because if so, I'm concerned. That is not normal. Mia testified that her radar went off because she knew D-Rock had witnessed Diddy be violent with Cassie and that it was absolutely not normal. Mia testified that D-Rock then said he had just landed in Miami to join Diddy, who wanted to talk to her. She said it was her impression that Diddy wanted her to make a public statement on his behalf. She never answered Diddy's call, she said. Mia said when Diddy called her, she threw her phone as far as it would go and ran outside. Like, threw it in what? The pool, the trash, the bed? I'm confused. The river, off the freeway. What is she saying? Hey, Miss P. I was reading. Um, it was just so triggering to see that it was just a reaction. It was just a reaction, she said. Mia believed Diddy tasked security guard with making sure she wasn't a threat. Diddy's security guard, known as D-Rock, continued to contact Mia periodically in December of 2023 and February of 2024, telling her the music mogul was trying to reach her. Mia testified she believed Diddy tasked D-Rock with making sure that I wasn't a threat. She responded until February 2024 when she thought D-Rock was getting angry with her because Diddy was pushing him to make contact, she testified. The security guard wrote, "Can't believe you're not hitting me back." And she replied that she had been scuba diving, Mia said. When D-Rock then asked her for her address to send her something, Mia said she declined. "I'm allowed to send my sister a gift," D-Rock wrote, according to Mia. Mia testified she never spoke to him after that, but believed he was trying to send her money. Wow. She was terrified to receive text messages from him. Here's another picture of them in the courtroom. Thank you, Ewanate. Diddy continued to reach out to his ex-assistant Mia in February of 2024. The first message sent on February 4th, 2024 said, quote unquote, "Hey Mia, it's Puff. Please let me know when you get 10 minutes to talk. Love." Mia testified she was terrified to receive the text messages and didn't respond. The second message Diddy sent was on February 7th, 2024, and read, "Hey, I don't want to be blowing up your phone. Just need to talk to you for 10 minutes. Just need my memory jogged on some things. You were my right hand for years, so I just speak to you to remember who was even around me, and it would be good to hear your voice. But if you don't want to at all, good. Just let me know. Love. Hope you're well." Mia testified that she didn't respond to that message either. "I just didn't want anything to do with him at all," she said. "He was a person I was traumatized by." She said she believed his kindness in the messages was a front. Yeah. The jury's taking a short break. Okay, let's move on. Holmes. Mia says she has PTSD and hasn't been able to work. Mia says she hasn't been able to work because she has severe PTSD. "I would have to leave because I would be triggered by really normal situations with like an overwhelming sense of fear of being in trouble," Mia said when she tried to work. As an example, Mia said when someone asked her, "Where are you?" she was immediately triggered. The person just wanted to get coffee, Mia testified, but she was flooded with the fear of having to explain where she was because she would be in trouble. When asked who caused her to not have those feelings, Mia said, "Puff." Mia's demeanor on the stand is still guarded. During her testimony, her head is bowed down with the part in her hair the most visible feature of her face. Long bangs hang past her eyes, shielding them from the view. Diddy blew a kiss to his mother, who was seated in the second row behind him with his sons and sisters. He's always blowing kisses to his mom. Janice? Yuck. Hi, Lily. I'm glad you made it. Thank you. Thank you for being here. Miss you. Thank you again, 818. The defense shows photos of Diddy posted on former assistant's social media. The jury is seeing photos of Diddy that Mia posted on social media. The first image was posted on her personal social media account in January 2013. The photo showed her holding several bottles of Ciroc vodka. The caption said, quote unquote, "What we do when you're not around," and tagged Diddy's account. Mia confirmed to defense attorney Brian Steele that Diddy had essayed her and abused her by that point. The jury saw two more photos from October of 2013. One of the photos showed Diddy at a coffee shop. "Just the number one guy on the Forbes list getting me a vanilla latte. No big deal. Regular people shit," the caption said. The other photo showed Mia, Cassie, and Carrie Morgan, a former friend of Cassie, at Burning Man Festival with the caption that said, "Take me back." Steele pointed out that Mia was standing beside Diddy and leaning into him in the photo. "And he terrorized you, right?" he asked Brian Steele. Mia responds, "Yes." I know Brian Steele is a beast. He is a beast, right? I like Brian Steele, and he was Young Thug's lawyer. Yeah, you know, like watch that trial. I know it's crazy, but I never followed it like from day to day. Hey, puppy. Hey, puppy Blanco. Good to see you. Brian Steele is a monster. You mean like badass, or you mean like not like scary, or both? I like him. He's good. Mia explains why she made positive posts about Diddy on social media. When asked, Mia testified she made positive posts about Diddy because social media was about showing how great your life was, even if it wasn't true. She said Diddy fans followed her and she didn't want her family to know what she was going through, referring to the various forms of abuse she experienced. You guys believe Mia? Oh, I appreciate you, Dustin. Thank you. I appreciate you. Diddy changed his birthday at one point. Mia testifies. Mia testified that at one point Diddy changed his birthday. Defense attorney Brian Steele showed another photo of Mia she posted to celebrate Diddy's birthday, where the caption said, in part, "Happy New Birthday." Steele asked Mia what that referred to, and she said, "Puff decided to change his birthday that year, so we all promoted it," she testified. What the heck? Change his birthday? He's so dumb. Meaning Brian Steele's one of the best lawyers out here. Yeah, I agree, Puppy Blanco. He is. He's badass. Ex-assistant shares a glowing birthday post from Diddy even after she said he threatened her life. On June 22nd, 2014, Mia reposted an Instagram post that Diddy published about her for her birthday. Diddy posted a photo of them together and wrote, "Besides every great man is a great woman," he added. "P.S. Sorry I was acting crazy last night. He had threatened my life on the phone that night before, and I guess this was his apology," Mia testified. In her repost, she wrote, quote unquote, "nicest caption ever. Thanks, Puff. Love you. You've shown me the world." Defense attorney Brian Steele asked Mia if she reposted this, even though she said Diddy had just threatened her life and traumatized her for years. "Yes, of course," she testified. Brian Steele. Hey, HCB. Hey, Christine. I don't know. Thank you for being here. Who is Mia? Do you guys know? I'm not going to say it, but if you guys know, let me know in the chat. I'm curious. I haven't watched a lot of stuff on this today. Mia says she had to beg for permission to go to her grandmother's funeral. Mia said she had friends outside of her job, but she didn't get to see them or speak to them. "I did not have an external sounding board," she said. Defense attorney Brian Steele suggested that she could have reached out to them if she wanted to. "Quote unquote, no, there was absolutely no time. I had to get permission to do things or leave," she responded. "I had to beg to go to my grandma's funeral." Mia said she was fearful for her own safety when Diddy was unhappy. "I was in fear anytime Puff was not happy because I wanted to make sure that he was, because then I was safe," Mia testified. Here's another art picture of Diddy. Mia says she almost forgot about Diddy's abuse when things were good. Isn't Mia her stage name? No, I think it's just like a pseudonym. It's like to hide her who she is, I believe, right? For safety reasons. It's Diddy's assistant. But who do we know, like, her name? I'm not gonna say it, but do we know her name? I want to be respectful as I can. And if they dox her, isn't that illegal? Like, didn't the judge say something like he had warned them that they didn't want it to, I know I was joking. Oh, they didn't want her to be revealed and that they would be in trouble. Is that what happened? That's what I thought I heard. Defense attorney Brian Steele continued to show continue showing photos of Mia on social media and asked her whether she posted a photo of the man who ruined her life. "Yes, and my boss and the person I was with all the time," she testified. "How do you have a good moment with Sean Combs when you're terrified of him?" Steele asked. "It's easy because the dynamics would shift," Mia replied. "So when things were good, we felt really safe and we almost forgot about those things." The way they make Diddy look in these pictures. The jurors are dismissed from lunch. Okay, lunchtime. Defense argues to show a video Mia recorded and sent to Diddy wishing him a happy birthday in 2013. Diddy be looking rough. Diddy was always looking rough. Yo, I never thought he was handsome. Brian Steele put Mia in a body bag this morning. I know, Brian Steele. Oh, but that's sad. I wish that somebody had those Google glasses to see what Diddy really looks like. I'm convinced that my courtroom drawings would be better than these, and I can draw. Don't ask me to draw. Don't ask me to draw, babes. I don't draw. No. Diddy ain't got that just for men no more. He looking like he's 80 years old. He gonna come out, yeah. Looking like he aged. All that stress. Gross food. No, but now he looks like a wrinkly old. Yeah. Okay, the judge is back on the bench. Okay, Diddy's arguing. The defense is arguing to show the jury a video that Mia recorded and sent to Diddy, wishing him a happy birthday in 2013. The defense didn't give notice to the court or the government until the lunch break. The judge is leaning towards precluding the video because it was cumulative and noticed too late. Defense attorney Mark Agnifilo Schmifilo, but Agnifilo, is that really? I think that's how you pronounce it. I heard someone say that, and I was like, I've been saying it wrong this whole time. Don't judge me. Don't come for me. He does show his age now. No, just for men in jail. No. Sorry if I've been saying that bad. The defense didn't give. Oh, I already read that. Mark Agnifilo, whatever his name is, said Mia's demeanor on the stand is an act, and the defense wants to show the video of and upbeat Mia talking to Diddy to prove the assertion to the jury. The judge is giving the defense 5 minutes to get its story straight as to why the video is just coming out now. Why is that allowed? They did that with the emails too. Like the emails they were sending to the judge at like 10:30 p.m. prior to trial starting, that needs to go on the docket. Why are you just presenting this now? Like, it's shady, I think. The judge says defense can't show the video. The judge has precluded the jury after watching the happy birthday video. He said the relevance and probative value of the video is minimal and also said it's precluded because of the defense's failure to turn it over to the gun. Okay. He said attorney Brian Steele can still ask Mia about the video. Okay. Jury shown more photos of Mia posted on social media for Diddy's birthday. The jury showed more photos Mia posted on social media. Defense attorney Brian Steele asked Mia how she could post about his birthday without recognizing the significance as the time he allegedly assaulted her for the first time. It was Puff's birthday. That was the date. That's what the date was, she said, and I tried to forget that night and shut it down. I never wanted to think about it again. Steele keeps going through photo collages Mia posted annually on her Instagram, wishing Diddy a happy birthday. After she explained each photo, Steele asked Mia why she'd post such loving words about Diddy if he traumatized her for years. Mia explained that she was expected to post for Diddy's birthday while she was working for him. The post was updated with more details on Steele's cross-exam. Oh, okay. Former Mia reviews scrapbook she made for Diddy. Is now reviewing a scrapbook she made for him. Looking at it, she said, I remember this. It was so nice of me. Mia gave the scrapbook to Diddy for his 45th birthday in 2014. She wrote, Happy 45th birthday, Puff Daddy, in large red letters, followed by a page-long handwritten note. Puff, sometimes life goes by at catastrophic speeds where you never get to live and enjoy the now, Mia wrote in the note. So she wrote she hoped that he'd be able to sit back and take in how much he's accomplished, saying she put together a book of magazine articles from 1991 to 1999 to stir up nostalgic feelings of when you started and how you felt. Hey, Thomas. No sound. That's the gentleman to the left. Okay. Yeah. Scrapbooking, man. Diddy's lawyer put down Richard and Mia and Navalia. If the defense manages to score another convincing win, they would really raise a lot of doubt on the case where they're going about it. Okay. Yeah. I don't know. I think the defense is kind of like leading here. I hate to say it. Crazy how Diddy went from Youngs to and bougie showers in like Bali or whatever, and now he's like in a federal prison. Mia testified that she made a scrapbook for Diddy after a conversation where he told her, I used to look at the world the way you did, and implied there was nothing left now that he had done everything. She said it was hard to get a birthday present for somebody who has a lot of money, and she thought the book would make him happy. Here she is. I was young and manipulated and eager to survive, Mia said when asked why she worked for Diddy for so long. Defense attorney Brian Steele challenges Mia, I love him, on why she worked for Diddy for so long and did things for him like make a scrapbook for his birthday, even though she's said she's endured physical, sexual, and emotional abuse for years. Mia testified that her therapist or a psychology textbook would explain it better, but she said, quote unquote, in an abusive relationship, there's a cycle of violence. I was young and manipulated and eager to survive. I'm unraveling a lot of this now in therapy. Nobody was there to say these things that were happening were wrong. There was nobody around us that even flinched at his behavior. Mia said, I was always in trouble and I was always trying to find a way not to be in trouble. That's wild. Mia says her trauma brain often wins over her logic brain. She was physically and actually abused by the rapper, said there was a difference between her logic brain and her trauma brain. Why did you need someone else saying that it was wrong of Mr. Combs to make you feel like he would unalive you? Defense attorney Brian Steele asked her. Mia responded that she has a logic brain and a trauma brain, and the trauma brain often wins. Eventually, it becomes normalized, and you're just trying to get back to the good. You make excuses for people. I'm a people pleaser. I'm an empath. I'm a rule follower, she testified. I just wanted to do my best and make everybody happy all the time. So I tend to take in a lot more than normal people. I don't know how to explain that. I don't know if I should apologize for that. I forgive people all the times for things, she said. She says she hasn't lied to anyone at all about the SA allegations. Defense attorney Brian Steele suggested 3 times during his cross-examination of Mia that she made up the SA allegations against the music mogul. Mr. Combs never had unwanted, non-consensual, forcible sex contact with you. Isn't that true? Steele asked. What I said in the courtroom is true. I have not lied to anyone, Mia replied. She testified that he assaulted her a few months into her employment on multiple occasions through the years. Mia explained how she gathered materials for the scrapbook to mark Diddy's birthday. To create the birthday scrapbook, Mia says she reached out to people at Diddy's companies who handled archives and asked them for copies of articles mentioning him. She then printed out the articles, highlighted his name, and put them in a chronological order in the scrapbook to mark his 45th birthday in 2014. Defense attorney asked me about making a birthday video. So back to that. I don't know. Maybe he had a choice just between you guys are funny. I don't know how a lot of people stayed around him for a long time, clearly, right? Brian still asked me about the birthday video that the judge precluded earlier this afternoon from being admitted as evidence. Asked if she remembered making a birthday video for Diddy, Mia said one year she compiled a video of shout-outs from many important people in his life, including herself. She said she probably told Diddy she loved him in the video, but doesn't remember. Mia testified she couldn't remember how many people participated. She reached out to a list of people that Diddy always wanted at his parties and his family to ask if they wanted to send a shout-out and got many videos back. Steele suggested that Mia made the video in 2013, but she couldn't remember the year. Dre sees text messages Mia sent him to another employee after learning film company was shutting down. The jury saw messages Mia sent to Christina Courtroom in December of 2016. She testified that the messages were following her meeting with another executive who informed her Revolt Films would be shutting down. She wrote to Courtroom saying, "My life is over." The two exchanged a couple messages before Mia stopped responding. Courtroom sent several messages asking Mia to answer her phone. Mia later responded apologizing and saying she could call her soon. Courtroom said she wanted to make sure Mia was okay. "I'm not, but I'm alive and I love you," Mia responded, according to the messages. Courtroom sent Mia a message calling her a superstar and complimenting her. Mia responded that she was so heartbroken, "I can't breathe." She says leaving Diddy's film company felt like the worst thing in the world. Diddy got over 121 women saying he teamed the police report. The odds of that happening are in billions. Money and the chance of fame. Maybe because he's famous and she was hooked or desperate. Yeah. Mia says she loved working in film and TV when she was informed in 2016 that Revolt Film was shutting down. "I didn't want to leave the company that I built where I was actually started to see my dreams come to fruition," she said. Defense attorney Brian Steele had asked to explain about why she wasn't happy to be free of her employment. Mia testified it was the only life she knew, described her time working there for Diddy as dog years that felt even longer than the 8 years she worked there. Steele suggested leaving the company was a good thing for her because you're away from your abuser. "No, because at the time I didn't realize that. In hindsight, it was fantastic, but at the time, the worst thing in the world," Mia said. The lawyers discuss evidentiary issues while the jury's done. Defense attorneys and prosecutors are still in the courtroom. Prosecutors list the 4 next witnesses expected to testify after Mia. Enrique Santos. Who's Enrique Santos? Doesn't say who he is. Eddie Garcia, who worked in security at the Intercontinental Hotel. Garcia is expected to testify under immunity. A hotel custodian, and Frank Piazza, a forensic video expert. Day 13, here's what happened this afternoon. So the social media posts, remember that Mia said he essayed her. She was eager to survive. She said she's a people pleaser. She maintained honesty. She said she hasn't lied about anything and about leaving the company, the film company. This is in the courtroom. Wow. Okay, so that was day 13. That was Friday. Hollywood is exhausting. So much shady. Courts could overflow. Business courts could overflow at all surfaces. Yeah. The defense witnesses gotta be D-Rock and KK. That's gonna be so good. It is D-Rock and it is. I am dying to hear about KK. Like I am shook. She doesn't. Okay, let's move on to today, and then we're gonna watch an AI video. You guys know I like them AI videos that Long Prime makes about the trial. And we watched part one of Cassie testifying sometime last week, and now the second part is out, so we'll watch that. Okay, so day 14. I'm going to start from the bottom again so that's how it goes in order. So let's see. Okay. Catch up what happened on Friday. We found out. We read that through that. Okay, so we know who's going to expect it to testify. The judge is on the bench discussing matters. Okay, he's back on the stand. Former hotel security invokes Fifth Amendment ahead of testimony later today. The prosecution brought in Eddie Garcia, former security at the Intercontinental Hotel, to invoke his Fifth Amendment right not to incriminate himself before the jury entered the courtroom in the morning. The judge said Friday he'd signed an immunity order compelling Garcia to testify. The former Intercontinental employee is expected to testify later today. Wow. Defense attorney asked me about her resume. Defense attorney Brian Steele is going through a resume Mia created before she began working for Diddy. The resume says she provided round-the-clock support to Mike Myers when she was his assistant in 2008 and 2009. Steele pointed out that the resume said she had thick skin. I thought I did, Mia responded. Brian Steele, a beast. If the feds got KK or D-Rock flipped on Diddy, he would be found guilty of everything because those two are going to make or break P. Diddy since they're super close. Puffy, Mia says Puff used to be my protector. The defense team is going through text messages between Diddy and his former assistant Mia. In 2018, Mia texted Diddy during Christmas and New Year's holiday. Merry Christmas, love you so much, Mia wrote in one text. She had seen Diddy at Kim Porter's funeral. Mia testified Porter had shared 3 children with Diddy. Yeah, we know. A few weeks later, on January 15, 2019, Mia texted Diddy that she was thinking about him because she had a nightmare and she was trapped in an elevator with R. Kelly and Diddy came to save her. In March 2019, Mia texted Diddy saying she was sending him all the love in the world. Defense attorney Brian Steele asked Mia if she was still under Combs' grip at the time since she wasn't working for him anymore. She said that she still was psychologically. Also, Puff used to be my protector, she testified, referring to Diddy's nickname. Although also these were based around tragic events that happened in his life, Mia added, pointing out that the text was set within a few months of Porter's death. Mia also texted Diddy in December of 2019, writing that she was sending love to him and his family. She testified that she sent the message on Porter's birthday. She filmed as part of her job, Mia testified that Diddy required her to carry around a pocket video camera to record him before he hired full-time videographers. Defense attorney Brian Steele asked Mia if she had any of the videos of Diddy berating her or any of him in a moment of rage. Absolutely not, Mia testified. No, I would have not been allowed to film that. I was filming whatever he wanted me to film. Filming Diddy in a moment of rage would have been a huge break of trust, loyalty, and confidentiality, Mia said. She testifies that she didn't tell anyone about the abuse. Defense attorney Brian Steele asked Mia, a former assistant to Diddy, if she told anyone about the abuse she said she endured from Combs while it was happening. Do you have anything where you're contemporaneously wrote to a friend, family member, police officer, anybody, and said, "This is what's going on," and being assaulted, berated, anything? Steele asked. No, the only time I reached out for help was very subtle to people in the office, but not disclosing things that other people hadn't witnessed. Mia responded, "No, I would never." Steele went on to ask Mia if the text messages shown today, including instances where she sent him the holiday greeting and said, "Love you," demonstrate almost a loving relationship between Mia and Diddy. "I'm sending him support and love." Yes, Mia testified. Brian Steele is burying her. Hey, Smart Dog, glad you made it. Her protector, that's how abusive relationships begin. False security. That's true. Kim Porter was a 706 Columbus. Yeah, I like Kim Porter. R.I.P. Kim Porter. And I don't think she died from pneumonia. If you ask me. I mean, maybe she did, but I don't know. I have my theories of that. We're going to talk about it on another live. Nobody around batted an eye, Mia says, when Diddy misbehaved. Mia said that nobody around batted an eye when her former boss misbehaved. He was still praised by everybody in his circle and public, she testified. "I was always constantly seeking his approval. He was my authority figure, my only authority figure," Mia said. She says his threats made me internalize blame and shame. Mia, former assistant to Diddy, I always start with that. What happened between himself and Mia, which made Mia internalize blame and shame. Threatened to tell his girlfriend, Cassie, about what happened. Wow. Mia said she had been testifying about the violence and abuse. Mia has been testifying about the violence and abuse, verbal, physical, and actual, she said she experienced with Diddy. "Nobody acted like what was happening to me was wrong, and his threats about what he was going to tell Cassie about what happened made me internalize blame and shame." Defense attorney Brian Steele asked Mia why she didn't want Diddy to tell Cassie that he had SA'd her. Mia responded that Combe didn't use those words. Diddy didn't use those words. "He threatened to tell Cassie, quote, unquote, everything, which made me feel like I had done something wrong. I don't know how to explain what that does to a person," she testified. Jury sees video that she made for him. Oh, so they saw it. Mia is sitting at a desk in the video and tells Diddy she was blessed to call him a friend and thanked him for, quote unquote, being one of my biggest inspirations in life. "I love you. Happy birthday," Mia said in the video, blowing a kiss. The judge allowed the video clip to be shown over objections from prosecutors. Defense attorney Alexander Shapiro said Monday morning that the video supports the defense team's argument that Mia is presenting a false persona to the jury. Oh, wow. They're not out yet, Kelly. I mean, they're out. I haven't got them yet, but I want to so bad. Judge warns defense attorney about line of questioning. Prosecutor Maureen Comey accused defense attorney Brian Steele of harassing and humiliating Mia on the stand with yelling, sarcastic, and argumentative questioning. Comey also said that dozens of social media posts Steele has compelled Mia to discuss are cumulative and have nothing to do with her credibility. The judge said he hasn't heard Steele yell or be sarcastic, but agreed that Steele has asked improper argumentative questions. The judge also said he sustained objections to any improper questions and warned Steele to be mindful not to continue asking argumentative questions that might make it seem like he's doing it purposely just for the jury to hear, knowing that the question will be struck away. These parties are now discussing more exhibits Steele wants to submit into evidence during Mia's cross-examination. Mia says he put tracking devices on Cassie's car. Defense attorney Brian Steele asked Mia how Diddy would have found out about private messages between her and his ex-girlfriend, Cassie. "He had stolen my phone many times. He has stolen Cassie's phone many times. He has put tracking devices on her car," Mia testified. "I'm not sure what he's capable of. I was terrified," she said. Mia says she never told Cassie to leave Diddy in the way I wish I could have. The former assistant to Diddy said she was very close with Diddy's ex-girlfriend Cassie throughout her employment, but she was not allowed to tell her the truth about a lot of things. "Whatever story Puff told me, I had to uphold that," Mia said. "One of the worst parts was being put in the middle and having to cover up for Puff to Cass, which he forced me to do constantly." Defense attorney Brian Steele asked Mia if she ever told Cassie that she should leave Combs. Not in the way I wish I could have, Mia responded. Mia testified she never told Cassie she had to stay with Diddy, but said, I remember covering for him when he forced me to and feeling terrible about it. However, if I didn't, he would have taken me away from her. Mia says she didn't mention SA allegations during mediation over her severance. Mia testified that she never mentioned any SA allegations against Diddy in 2017 mediation over her severance with the company. Defense attorney Brian Steele asked her if she was aware of the Me Too movement at the time of the mediation. Mia testified that she was not. Wow, Brian Steele. What a toxic environment surrounded him. I know, it's terrifying. Brian Steele, man. Mia sent him birthday texts days before Cassie's lawsuit was made public. The jury saw a message Mia sent to Diddy for his birthday in 2023. The message included a photo of the two of them, which Mia posted for Diddy's birthday in 2014. She testified that she didn't remember sending that message. Mia testified the lawsuit filed by Cassie against the music mogul was made public 12 days after that message. In her federal lawsuit, Cassie accused Combs, of rape, and we know. Mia says she doesn't remember when she told prosecutors about SA allegations. She doesn't remember a lot of important facts. I will say that, like a lot of things that are important here. Mia testified that she did not initially tell prosecutors and federal investigators about the SA allegations against her former boss, Diddy. Mia testified that she definitely did not tell him before she had a lawyer. Defense attorney Brian Steele suggested that Mia did not tell prosecutors about the SA allegations until June of 2024. Again, I don't remember the dates, but I do remember the horrible conversation, Mia testified. June 2024? That's like almost a year after Cassie filed her lawsuit. I was never outside of his grip, she says. Former assistant Mia confirmed that she was able to spend more time with friends and family when she was working for Diddy, but she said those times were far and few between. Defense attorney Brian Steele suggested that she had time where she was outside of Diddy's grip with people she trusted. I was never outside of his grip, Mia said, adding that even though she was away from her job, she was still expected to be in constant communication 24/7. Steele asked why she didn't tell any of her loved ones about the allegations when she saw them during that period. It was way more complex than that, Mia said. She denies Diddy was violent with Cassie on rare occasions. Defense attorney Brian Steele asked if Diddy was only violent with his former girlfriend, Cassie, on rare occasions. The opposite, Mia replied. Steele also asked a former assistant if Diddy was generally a pleasant person to be around. Mia said one of his personalities was pleasant and added the rest of them no. Yeah, I mean, I could see her being scared. Here's another drawing of Diddy. They make him look terrible. Let's see. Mia says she doesn't intend to sue him over SA allegations. I said that last week. I'm like, is she gonna file a lawsuit? And like, why not? This would be time for her to get some compensation, get a bag. I don't know, like bury him even more. Defense attorney Brian Steele asked me if she intended to sue Diddy, her former boss, based on the SA allegations that she made against him. Mia testified that wasn't her intention. The defense attorney also asked me if she wanted money based on her testimony at trial, and she said no. A former assistant, I don't know who it is. I don't know her name. Defense asked Mia if she was let go from her job for alcohol use. Absolutely not, she said. Defense attorney Brian Steele suggested that Mia was let go from the company for alcohol use. Steele asked, isn't it true you were let go for failing to arrive on time and for drinking? Absolutely not, Mia testified. Why did he ask that? It was something. Diddy's former assistant says she worked for Madonna. Mia testified she worked for music icon and social activist Madonna for about 8 months after she stopped working for Diddy. Wow, at the time, Mia said she did not think Diddy had blacklisted her. I would have to leave because I would be triggered by really normal situations with like an overwhelming sense of fear of being in trouble, Mia said when she tried to work. She also testified about being scared of Diddy and thinking that if she left her job, she would never be able to get a job somewhere else. Mia's testimony may help the prosecution with the SEX trafficking charge. Do we agree with that statement? Mia's testimony may help the prosecution with the trafficking. Do we? In order to get the trafficking conviction, you have to show that coercion, that duress, the way that Mr. Combs did everything he did for her for a particular purpose, O'Mara told CNN. They're bringing in all of these witnesses, including Mia, now to say this is the environment that Mr. Combs is responsible for, and it was an environment of coercion. Mia says her entire world was ripped away when the company shut down. Revolt Media. My entire world was being ripped away from me immediately, Mia testified, and even in hindsight, the world was awful. I didn't know it at the time. Steele asked if she wanted to continue working for Diddy and his business at the time. I wanted to continue following my dreams. I was finally making real stuff, and I had a separation from him. They will never go after his clients because it's most of Hollywood. Good point. Without Tootsie Roll, I will never look at Tootsie Rolls the same again. Not that I like Tootsie Rolls, but she really just go. Firm assistant says Cassie wasn't thrilled when she learned Diddy was dating other women. He presented to her that they were. So Mia says she didn't recall Cassie having specific jealousy over Kim Porter, who Diddy shared 3 children with. However, Mia said, I'm sure she wasn't thrilled when Cassie learned that Diddy was dating other women behind her back. He presented to her that they were exclusive, Mia said. Mia says she never considered reporting Diddy's abuse even anonymously. Defense attorney Brian Steele asked Mia a couple of questions about reporting the abuse she alleged she endured by Diddy. The former assistant testified she didn't contact law enforcement about it. She also said no when Steele asked her if she'd ever consider reporting alleged abuse through the women's shelter, doing so anonymously or asking a third party to report it for her. Mia says she didn't scream during abuse because she was in shock. Defense attorney Brian Steele revisited Mia's testimony about the time Diddy slammed a door on her arm multiple times. Mia said that her arm was bruised, but she didn't seek any medical treatment. I wouldn't have been allowed, she said. Mia says she didn't scream during the incident, even though it was painful. I was in shock, she said. Defense is done cross-examining Mia. Exorcism says she would be screamed at if Diddy believed she wasn't doing her job. Prosecutor Madison Smizer is going through several of Mia's social media accounts. Mia confirmed that promoting the events and projects in those posts were part of her job. Smizer asked Mia what Diddy Combs did when he thought he wasn't doing her job. I would be screamed at and humiliated and made fun of, and my job would be threatened, Mia said. Mia confirmed that posting for Diddy's birthday was also part of her job, and if she didn't do it, she would have been in trouble. Smizer referenced Mia's previous testimony that she created a scrapbook for Combs' birthday because she thought it would make him happy. Why did you try to keep the person who abused you happy? Smizer asked. Because when he was happy, I was safe, Mia said. Mia says she feared for her physical safety. I just knew his power and his wrath. When asked, Mia reiterated her previous testimony that she didn't feel like she could have left her job with Diddy. I would have been stripped of any credibility, would have been lost, wouldn't have been able to get a job in the same or any industry that I wanted, and would have lost anything I knew, she said. When she tried to leave her job once, Diddy's chief of staff told her to go back, Mia testified. Mia also testified again that she feared for her physical safety. I just knew his power and his wrath. Former assistant says she would have been fired immediately if she reported the abuse. She thought no one would believe her if she reported to Human Resources the physical and SEX abuse she says she endured. When prosecutor Madison Smizer asked her about speaking to Human Resources, Mia referenced a former employee who said she was fired after reporting Diddy's abuse to his former girlfriend, Cassie. Human Resources only punished me unjustly, also fired Kayla for even discussing Cassie's abuse. They wouldn't have believed me, and I would have been fired immediately, Mia said. Smizer asked Mia what she worried about what happened if she disclosed that Diddy had assaulted her. That I wouldn't be believed, I would be wiped out, I would be abused, fired, and somehow made out to look like I was a crazy person making everything up, Mia said. Mia wraps up her testimony. Beverly Hills Hotel is the next witness. Jury sees a hotel record that lists Ventura as an accompany guest on Diddy's reservation. This case is so twisted and sad and just brutal and disgusting. Sylvia, I just will never forget that hotel video, the one that started all of this, essentially. Sylvia, the director of sales and marketing at the Beverly Hills Hotel, says she'd recalled some reservations made for Diddy under the alias Frank Black. Oken said it's common for guests in the industry to stay at the hotel under an alias. She said the hotel's guest profiles contain both the celebrity's real name and their aliases. The jury also saw a hotel record that showed Cassie was listed as an accompanying guest on the reservation. She had full access to the reservation and could charge things to the room. Jury sees hotel receipts, including $500 charge for oil damage. The jury saw two bills for Diddy's hotel stays adjusted to be to an alias associated with his guest profile. One of them from May 2015 included a $500 charge for oil damage. Oh, like baby oil. Another bill included a $300 charge for cleaning drapes and a fee for going out to pick up 5 candles for Diddy. Wow. Jury dismissed for the day. To Continental Hotel witness compelled to testify under immunity is significant. So tomorrow he's going to testify. Bringing in the witness under immunity order could significantly help the prosecution's case against Diddy, said Lisa Bonner. The immunity order can indicate a very reluctant witness coming forward, Bonner said, adding, when you are coming in and invoking your right to waive your Fifth Amendment right and get some type of immunity, that means, listen, I don't want to be here and tell the story. I didn't want to be here and tell the story from the beginning. Another one of Diddy's accusers could take the stand as early as Wednesday. Eddie Garcia, who worked in security at the Intercontinental Hotel, is expected to take the stand tomorrow morning as prosecutor's next witness. Prosecutor Maureen Comey said the forensic video expert Frank Piazza, Combs employee Derek Ferguson, and Brian Bungolan, who previously accused Diddy of battery, are likely amongst the next witnesses to follow Garcia, but the order could change. Comey said Jane, another one of Diddy's abusers who is using a pseudonym under the trial, could take the stand as early as Wednesday afternoon. The plan is to get Jane off the stand in plenty of time for an international flight she's scheduled to catch next Thursday. So there's another Jane Doe we're not going to know. He initially pled the fifth. Okay, so little recap. Why she didn't report it. Part of the job, Mia testified that promoting events on social media was part of her job. She feared her safety. All the cleaning bill, all the baby oil dripping down the walls. Frank Black, alias. There's another picture of the courtroom drawing. Okay, that is crazy. That is so crazy. I can't wait to hear about the next Jane Doe. Okay, let's watch. I want to watch 2 clips. Let's watch this one from Law and Crime that just talks about what we just kind of read, and then we're going to do the AI. I want to watch the AI video of Cassie. Most of these witnesses don't have much credibility. Yeah, I don't know how that, I don't know. Do we think Mia's testimony was great? What do you guys think? Let me know.
In the Sean Diddy Combs trial, as a new alleged victim took the stand, backing up Cassie
helping Diddy or hurting
and
Diddy?
making some new ones of her own. This former assistant broke down on the stand, claiming she was sexually abused by Diddy and described how she was allegedly controlled and humiliated by the man who employed her. I'm Kennedy Walker, and you're watching Law and Crime. This courtroom sketch shows the woman who arguably delivered some of the most harrowing testimony yet in the federal trial against Sean Combs. Her face is intentionally left blank. This is because her identity is being shielded from the public. Only the jurors know her real name. To the public, she's known as Mia. Mia worked as Combs' personal assistant for 8 years. On the stand, she gave a detailed account of what she says happened behind the scenes. She told the jury she lived in fear, saying she didn't feel safe telling Diddy no. Mia backed up Cassie Ventura's claims of abuse, testifying, quote, I've seen him attack her. I've seen him throw her on the ground. I've seen him crack her head open. She recalled one violent episode where she feared for Cassie's life, saying, quote, I just saw him pick her up and I thought he is actually going to kill her. He slammed her head into the corner of the bed. But the most emotional part of Mia's testimony was what she says Combs did to her. She claimed the abuse began just months after she was hired. It was Combs's 40th birthday party in New York. She told the court he handed her 2 shots that, in her words, hit her hard. Then she said he kissed her and put his hand up her dress. Mia described another incident, this time inside Diddy's Los Angeles mansion. She told jurors that house rules forbade her from locking her bedroom door. Diddy, she claimed, would often say, quote, "This is my house. No one locks my doors." One night, she said she woke up to find him on top of her and alleged that he raped her. She said she couldn't say no to him because no meant risking everything. Testifying, quote, "I couldn't tell him no about a sandwich. I couldn't tell him no about anything." The prosecution asked, "What were you afraid would happen if you told Mr. Combs no with regard to sex?" Mia responded that he would fire me and ruin my future and somehow twist the story into making me look like a threat. In another alleged incident, she said Diddy forcibly slammed her arm into a door after she chased him down for taking her phone. When she found him later, Mia testified that he said, "I sent all of your compromising and inappropriate photos to my phone just in case you ever have something on me." Mia's testimony echoed Cassie's, who also accused Diddy of years of abuse. 2 women, 2 nearly identical stories. Both say they were sexually assaulted by Sean Combs. Both described a man who was allegedly violent and controlling. And both took the stand in his federal trial. Mia testified that Diddy, quote, "treated me like I was a worthless piece of crap." She said she was constantly cursed out, humiliated, and berated. Cassie told the jury she felt humiliated and disgusting. When asked why she didn't come forward, Mia told prosecutors, quote, "I was going to die with this. I didn't want anyone to know, ever." 2 women speaking up, 2 voices, once silenced, now heard in the same courtroom. And joining me to talk more about this is former Deputy Public Defender Philip Dubé. Philip, thank you so much for coming on today.
Bless you for having me.
So let's just dive right in. How important is Mia's testimony in this trial?
Oh, are you kidding? She's the linchpin, or at least one of them. Because remember, he is charged with RICO, which is the Racketeering, Influence, Organized Corruption, etc. Act. And they basically have to show a pattern of predicate criminal activity. So the one-off, the isolated incidents won't bring it to that level of it being a racket, if you will, under federal law to get Diddy. So they have to basically show a pattern. And a lot of people don't know this, and even a lot of attorneys and judges, but the definition of a racket is where you commit a crime more than once. So in theory, if you commit a crime twice, you're a racketeer. You know, it's kind of hard to believe, but normally you associate it with repeated, ongoing criminality under the umbrella of some type of an enterprise. So what these 2 women are doing between Cassie and Mia, it's showing that this is not just a one-off. This is not an isolated incident. These incidents now are starting to stack, which makes it starting to look like the ordinary course of the business. And I'm telling you right now, it's not looking good for Diddy.
So let's just talk more about that with, Mia's specific testimony. How
where is Ali
that
Carter
proving RICO or sex trafficking? The alleged sexual assault, or is it, the alleged physical violence? Her not going to HR because she's saying that HR wasn't really a thing at his company. Like, from what she's saying, how does it prove it?
Well, in a civil context, she could just file a sexual harassment lawsuit or go out on workers' comp, and that would be easy to settle. I mean, I know plenty of attorneys out there who would be salivating over those types of lawsuits, and they would try to get in on the payday. But criminally, I got to tell you, the government's a little handcuffed because the stateside local prosecutors in the DA's office never filed charges. And all of those crimes are time barred because they go back so many years. I mean, these young ladies started getting beaten, back in 2010, 2011. Domestic violence alone has a 4-year statute of limitations in California. And even if you try to get him on let's say a pimping and pandering theory, I think it's an 8-year statute. So those crimes are long gone. You can't get them. you know? So what do? You go federally. And federally, if you can show, and basically 2 or more incidents of these predicate acts, be it assault, be it rape, be it arson, brandishing a firearm in somebody's face, you know, these types of criminal threats and wielding weapons, that's how you build a case. But standing alone, if all you have is just isolated acts of violence, what this pattern tends to show with weapons and all types of veiled threats is that it was accomplished by force, fraud, or coercion. The force, fraud, or coercion is an element of the RICO statute. Absent that, the jury cannot convict.
So we can say, okay, we need 2 or more predicate acts. So that could, you know, essentially be Cassie Ventura's testimony when she went on the stand and said that Diddy allegedly raped her, Diddy allegedly hit her. And then now we have Mia's testimony essentially saying the exact same thing, that Mr. Combs allegedly sexually assaulted her, hit her, and the force and coercion, all of those things. We just proved RICO right there, essentially, is what you're saying.
Right. I mean, if all you had was just Cassie standing alone, basically what Diddy, and I would defend him on it. I absolutely would. I'd go to New York pro bono because I think it would be improperly charged under the RICO statute. Really what he is then on that fact pattern is a domestic batterer. And certainly not trying to trivialize it, but there's a separate body of law to get him under. You get him for spousal battery or domestic violence or just ordinary assault and battery. But because everybody sat on the clock and let the time tick away, they can't get him stateside. So you have to go federal. So now what do? You show that it's not just one victim within the Combs orbit. You start bringing in other people like personal assistants, other employees, maybe vendors of the Combs enterprise, people who are performing services for the enterprise, the plumber, the electrician, the hairdresser, the makeup artist. When you start bringing in, looping in all these people who are saying these people are getting beaten, they're getting pistol whipped, they're getting threatened, their livelihood is on the line, then it really starts to look like a criminal racket. And now what we're starting to see is it going from the infancy stage into it ripening into a true racket. And I'm sure right now, Diddy is shaking in his boots because the man is looking at life if convicted.
Right. And so we just talked about Cassie and Mia having similar testimonies with the sexual assault. Also with physical assault, we know that the former stylist said that Diddy physically hit him, allegedly. We know Mia said that she was physically hit. Cassie said she was physically hit, all of this alleged. So now it's like you could break that down for each thing could be like that, right?
Yeah. And you know what's even scarier, Kennedy, and a lot of people don't know this, and this is actually kind of terrifying. The prosecution does not have to prove each predicate act beyond a reasonable doubt. So the jury doesn't get a special verdict form while deliberating as to whether or not they find the sexual assaults true, the threats true, the coercion true. They don't have to find any of that true. All they have to find is that, I guess, under the totality of the circumstances, predicate acts have been proven. That's it. And you don't even have to have unanimity on them. So if you just throw a bunch of predicate acts at the jury sort of in a vacuum and not even necessarily in isolation, but where they can kind of look at it all in combination, the jury can come back with a guilty. It's pretty frightening. And the prosecution is not bound by the statute of limitations for each predicate act. So remember, under state law, the DV or the domestic violence
really
acts,
explaining things well.
Here in California, you got to get to the courthouse within 4 years of the crime, or that charge is time barred. But under federal RICO law, they can claw back decades. They can claw back 10 years outside the state statute of limitations and lump it in as a predicate act as long as the RICO itself is filed on time. So it's pretty scary how far back prosecutors can go. It's almost as if you have to watch your back from adolescence all the way to death as a citizen of this country out of fear that someone's just going to kind of glob onto something you did years ago and hold it against you at a federal criminal trial. It's pretty scary stuff.
And usually we know
wild. Okay, I'm missing some of the comments. Hey, Witch, glad you made it. Today we definitely go to a federal prison. We just don't know which one. Do you think he can handle federal prison, or will he be secluded? Oh, he's too famous he'll probably be isolated or whatever. Awesome, made it. Yeah, hit the like button for your girl, please. Thank you, 818. Yeah, all federal. Makes more sense to go down the RICO path. Right. I don't know. This is crazy.
I've seen defense attorneys say, well, hey, there's no physical evidence, so it can't be proved. There was no rape kit. There was no DNA. But in this case, they don't need that, correct?
They don't need any of it. It's all credibility. If the jury believes these witnesses, that's enough. I think they even get a special jury instruction that says that they can convict on the testimony of one eyewitness. So in theory, they don't even need this menagerie of witnesses to come in to testify about everything that Combs did to these people. If you have one person who says, for example, let's say it's Mia, and Mia comes in and says, I saw Sean Diddy do this to so-and-so. I saw him or heard him threaten her life. I heard him take a knife or saw him take a knife on this day. In theory, they don't even have to bring in all those people. They can just present it through one witness. But practically speaking, juries really need to hear from everybody, because at some point the prosecution will start to lose credibility, and it's going to look like that they are ganging up on him really without the goods. And juries, especially nowadays, they don't have a hard time convicting, but a lot of them really do have a conscience, and they want to make sure that they are convicting people based on rock solid evidence and not on hearsay. And unfortunately, you can convict of a RICO violation based on hearsay. It's sad, but true.
Is it dogpiling, though, or is it just that Mr. Combs has been in business for decades and decades, and maybe there are this many victims?
Of course. And I don't want to minimize what he did to anybody. Don't get me wrong. But, there's an old expression, not just in law, but in the literature, that we are not defined by the sum of our worst day. In other words, just because you have a couple of bad days in life, maybe spread out biannually, annually, does that really define who you are as an individual? Because what's interesting, when you look at some of the evidence of the women involved in Diddy's world, you see them smiling at Burning Man. You see them giving the peace sign at parties. You see them hugging. You see them kissing. So it wasn't all bad. The problem is that when it goes from the good and morphs into the bad, it literally goes from that old, I don't know if you remember the comedy tragedy masks that we see in theater arts, but that's what it does. And it just flips like with absolutely no notice, where he just goes from like this healthy, normal affect to almost like this manic craziness. And it puts people in fear for their lives. And if he's doing all of this under the umbrella of the Combs enterprise, unfortunately, this man's looking at life.
And you bring up a good point there with, some of the victims appearing in photos of Mr. Combs looking happy. Some people may ask, why didn't she leave? Or why didn't she say something sooner? From a legal standpoint, how do prosecutors handle that kind of victim blaming? Because there was a moment when Mia did say why. She did say, she couldn't even say no to a sandwich. So that's why she couldn't say no to Mr. Combs. But on the other hand, could the defense argue, well, you worked for him for 8 years?
The practical reality is, Kennedy, that
people need to remember the cycle of abuse, right? Like how that works. Diddy was like his own monster. He's a monster. Are other celebrities going to be charged? I'm curious. There's no face because she's incognito. We don't know who she is. I don't know. Allegedly, she got doxxed today by the defense. Is that true? Does somebody know who it is? What her name is? I'm not saying it out here out of respect, but may the Supreme be thanks for being here. People don't understand deviant unless you're subject. People don't understand unless you're subject to. Yeah, exactly. Couldn't say no to sandwich. Yeah. Diddy looks really like he's gotten really old in there, huh?
Just about every juror has had to work with
somebody
somebody else in
Red
life.
Velvet Room.
I'm not going to say that all jurors are self-employed, that they're the captain of their own ship, but they understand what it means to have to respect authority in the workplace and have to work for other people. And they are 100% dependent on their employer to keep their job open, keep the paycheck going. And sometimes people don't have the means, they don't have the contacts, and they might not even have the will to find other employment. So they feel trapped. And when you feel trapped, it means you have to endure what's being perpetrated on you by a taskmaster for a boss. And at some point, it morphs from being an employer-employee relationship almost to indentured servitude. And there's no way out. And our laws proscribe indentured servitude, peonage, and trafficking. And that's what happens. And then there's an entire pathology, particularly in the romantic relationships, why people stay in these relationships. And it goes back to this entire, I don't know if I necessarily want to call it a sickness, but it's this cycle of human tolerance, human forgiveness, and yet there is also a limit. But when people reach the limit and your abuser or your oppressor comes back and tries to make good and make up for what they've done, then you fall back into that cycle and you start reliving the drama all over again. And then it goes back to that comedy drama type cycle where things are good again. And then there's this sort of brief pause, and then the violence starts up again. And at some point, it's crazy making. But they're trapped because they can't just leave and make a life for themselves without having to become impoverished. And that's the fear. We see that, for example, with battered spouses. We even see it with battered children. They're too young to get out of a house. They're too young to go truant maybe, or be afraid to run away. They have nowhere to go. Cops won't listen to them. Neighbors won't listen to them. Instead, they just bring them back to that same violent environment. And at some point, you don't know what to do. Now, in this case, fortunately, women left, and they did eventually get out. And thank goodness they did, because Lord only knows if they would have survived it.
Right. And you touch on the emotion there. And I think that that's very important, because several of these witnesses have cried on the stand. We saw it with Cassie, with Capricorn Clark, and now Mia. Mia testified that she was going to die with this secret. Can powerful lines like that impact how a jury feels and ultimately rules?
Absolutely. Because remember, one of the elements is force, fraud, or coercion. And if these witnesses / victims are truly feeling the wrath of Diddy through force, fraud, or coercion, then the jury can convict. So far, I think they've made out the predicate acts, and these witnesses have made a compelling case in front of the jury that it was all done by coercion. It's not looking good for Diddy. I got to tell you. I don't know what that offer was before the trial started, but it's probably looking pretty good right now. And he might be having second thoughts about not having taken it.
Well, how does the defense go about combating this testimony?
Well, look.
Yeah, where's all the celebs involved? I've said this the other night on the other live. Like, where's Ashton? Where's Jay-Z? Like, where all of his friends that he was, at these parties with? We showed a video of a white party like a few days ago. Where's everyone at? There would be a lot of did he deserve president? And went, yeah, I know. People keep saying, like, why did Cassie go back? Why did they all continue to work for him? Why did they stay in a toxic relationship, right? Whether it was like a platonic relationship or a sexual relationship. It takes women an average of 7 times to leave an abusive relationship. We all know that one moved to the UK. He ran off, literally. Money. Only one man falls, just like Jay. Yeah.
I don't think that it's difficult for jurors to see that not every relationship is perfect. And you're not condoning what Diddy did, for lack of a better term, but that you argue to the jury that everything is improperly filed. He is not charged with domestic violence. So you're not telling the jury that your client is a Vienna choir boy. And you're certainly not asking the jury to invite him over for Sabbath dinner, or to set a Seder plate for him, but that's not what's before them. What is before them is to see whether or not there was no consent, and whether or not this was in fact done by force, fraud, or coercion. And it's pretty scary how you can be in a relationship and things are hot and cold.
Thank
Emotions
you.
ebb and flow. There are highs and lows, but then suddenly you're behind the V, as we say in a criminal case, where if a victim says yes, yes, it's good, but then if they change and say no, no, you're a criminal. And I think the test for the jury is going to be whether or not these quote unquote victims really did consent. And if in Diddy's mind, he reasonably believed that they consented, because that's the standard. Did he reasonably believe that they consented? And if he reasonably believed that, the burden shifts to the federal government to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that they did not consent. And you never know, he really might be able to hang it. My fear is, though, that he would probably have to testify and explain to the jury why his beliefs were reasonable at the time. And certainly he would have to fall on the sword and explain that he wasn't the greatest partner, he probably wasn't the greatest boss, but that he wasn't a racketeer or a trafficker.
Well, when you say
there's
some things maybe Mr. Combs didn't realize, you know, could it be argued with Mia taking the stand and in her own words saying that she did not say no? Could the defense say, well, how was Mr. Combs supposed to know otherwise?
Absolutely, because there's a doctrine in the law, we call it assertive conduct. Okay, assertive conduct means that people can consent and acquiesce and agree and just by way of their conduct. So in theory, you can go to a bar, hang out, you spot somebody that you're interested in without actually voicing the words, hey, you want to come home with me? Instead, what you do, you're buying each other a drink, you're hugging, maybe even planting a kiss on each other. And before you know it, you're walking out to the car, you're getting into the car, you're going over to their place. But does that mean that it was articulated? No. So you look at the behavior. The behavior suggests that there's consent. You don't see anybody pulling away. You don't see anybody slapping the other person, saying, take your hands off me, or, I'm not that type of person. I'm not interested. No. So you look at the behavior and you watch it just sort of flow and move almost like a medley. And you say to yourself, how else could you interpret this? This looks like an act of consent. Now, you might not like what went down during, the course of everything, but you never once tried to back out. You never once said, no, I want out. And if they did, and midstream did try to get out, and Diddy continued anyway, that's a sexual assault. That is rape. Just like yes means yes, no also means no. Even if you're in the heat of things and you are midstream and your victim says stop, no more, and you do not stop, that is a predicate act under RICO. But let's just pretend hypothetically that nobody ever said stop. But instead, they're just thinking it. Oh, I wish he would get off of me. I wish he would just stop already. Why doesn't he just die? Get away from me. But you don't voice it. You don't articulate it. The man is not the great Karnak. He's not a mind reader. And now to come after him 15 years later and call him a trafficker, a racketeer, a rapist. I think a jury might have a hard time. I really do. To be fair.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And Mia's argument just that she was just too afraid and thought that he would ruin her life and ruin her career if she said no. She said he was a very powerful man, so she just felt voiceless, essentially. But some people compare Mia's story to what we saw in the Weinstein case. Do you think this case is headed in that direction legally?
I don't see it as the Weinstein.
This is crazy. I'm reading a lot of your guys' comments. So do you guys think that they proved RICO or not? Like, what do you guys think? I don't know what to think of this. All the people with amnesty purchased and the rugs paid for airline tickets. Yeah, he had people doing his dirty work. His employees get media for proof they have been to an FO. Trump to be associated in the past. Could it be Stockholm Syndrome? Definitely a form of Stockholm Syndrome. I said this before. Pandora, I'm glad you made it. Good to see you, Pandora. Can you imagine that they think you're going to know their secret? Right. Have they proven RICO yet? Yeah. Have they? And will he be pardoned by Trump? And thank you for subscribing. A few people said they subscribed. Thank you. Welcome to Mellyverse. It's wild here. It's fun. All true crime. We do generally have a few lives. Well, I try to go live every day. Tonight we're going to have Karen Reed. I'm also covering Karen Reed case. So make sure you like the live, sub up. so you can make it to all the lives. And get
Case,
the
I see it a little different. I almost see it like the Epstein, Ghislaine, Maxwell type scenario.
Yeah, I've heard that as well. Absolutely.
Right? You know what I mean? Where Ghislaine is kind of looking for people, grooming them, bringing them, you know, to the leader, to the mob boss,
Diddy and that,
you know? And then, but I think the distinction between Ghislaine and Jeffrey Epstein is that I don't believe that Jeffrey ever victimized Ghislaine. Instead, he always rewarded her. They were literally like thick as thieves, kind of partners in crime. Whereas here, I think what you've got, it's a little different. You've got everybody intimately involved on a daily basis in an employment situation, as opposed to just purely a party situation. And that employment sort of umbrella is what kind of triggers the enterprise aspect of RICO. And I think the jury can infer, well, look, this guy's running a business. He's got people in his employ. He's victimizing them. He's putting them in indentured servitude in a form of peonage. Yeah, he might be paying them a pittance, but he's doing it by force, fraud, or coercion. That's called a racket. So it could go either way, I think. But I will tell you that the more victims that they have coming in, the more insurmountable it will be for Diddy. But when you have one or two people, you could be able to argue it as maybe people who are disgruntled. They were the hopeful sort of monkey wannabe starlets, R&B singers, agents, people from the music world who really thought that they were going to be titans and dynamos, only to have their hopes dashed because Diddy dumped them. And now they get to come in and have the last word, take that stand and take down Diddy. And I think that's how you play it. But that can only work, I think, if you only have a couple of people. And it remains to be seen who else they have coming in to take the stand who was victimized by him. Because the more you have, the more insurmountable it becomes.
Right. And we have weeks more. So we are definitely going to be following this case very closely to see what happens. Philip, thank you so much for.
Okay, so now we're gonna watch. That was really good information there. I'm trying to understand the whole RICO thing and like, did they prove it? You know, what's up? Like, what is going on? Was Mia legit and credible? Do you believe Mia? Take down the dealer. Okay, so now we're gonna backtrack a little bit. We're gonna watch Cassie testifying. We're gonna watch her AI version. This is from Law and Crime. I love the stuff that they're doing with the AI. This isn't very long. Part 1 we already played on a different live last week, so make sure you check out the playlist. I have a Diddy playlist. I've been covering the docs, doing all of that. So make sure you check out the Diddy playlist. But this is part 2 of Cassie.
Ms. Ventura, when you were asked some questions, you talked about your music earlier. You had been recording.
Yes.
Approximately how many songs did you record during your relationship with Sean?
Hundreds of songs.
What happened to the songs that you recorded?
Some of them got released. Some of them got leaked on the internet prior to like a proper release, and some just didn't see the light of day.
Besides the songs that were released, did you release any additional albums when you dated Sean?
No, I put out a mixtape.
What's a mixed tape?
It was a free album, like for fans that had been waiting for so long for music.
Approximately what year did you put out that mixtape?
I believe it was 2011 or 12. I'm not 100% sure.
How many albums on your record deal were not released?
9.
And what, if any, compensation did you receive if albums are not released?
You don't. You barely receive it when they are released.
What, if any, impact did not releasing albums have on you financially?
I mean, it was not released. Can you repeat again? I'm sorry.
Sure. What, if any, impact did not releasing albums have on you financially?
I mean, financially, I didn't make anything off them. But I think it was just more of a, you're not releasing music. You're not doing your job. So the career was kind of stifled.
Why did you?
I love this AI stuff. Thank you, the Supreme View, for the super chat. New supporter, glad I ran across a place. Yeah, we have a lot of fun here. Welcome to Mellyverse. All things true crime, good time.
Not release another album during this time?
No bullshit.
You're asking me?
Well, put another way. What were you doing instead of?
Thank you, I appreciate
when you working on your music? What were you doing?
When I wasn't working on my music, I was recovering from partying. That took a big chunk out of my life.
Do I have hearts
I
coming
just
out of my mouth?
plainly, the freak offs became a job where there was no space to do anything else but to recover and just try to feel normal again.
When you say partying, what do you mean by partying?
Staying up for days on end, taking drugs and other different substances, drinking, having sex with a stranger over days.
Does partying include what you described earlier as freak-offs?
Yeah.
Before we move on, who ultimately decided whether you could release another album?
Sean did.
How much time out of your week did freak-offs take?
It would depend on how long they were. They ranged anywhere from 36, 48 to 72 hours. I feel like the longest one ever was 4 days, maybe even more, like on and off with breaks. So it was a significant part of the week.
And you also testified just a moment ago about recovering. What, if anything, were you recovering from after a freak-off?
Recovering from the drugs, dehydration, just staying awake all that time.
Miss Johnson, when you come to a good...
Let's remember she testifies too, like she had like health problems because of it and stuff. That's a lot. That's wild. 4 days of just freaking off. Lord have mercy. Like what?
landing place, we can take our mid-afternoon break.
I mean, like,
Your Honor, I think this is a good landing place if the court is amenable.
Every day.
Thank you.
I mean, it's
Members of the jury. Wild. It's 12:20 right
Being
now.
drugged up.
I have been informed that your lunch is here, so let's come back at 1 p.m.
All rise for the jury.
Yeah, I've been covering it.
Mr. Courtroom Deputy, do we have our jury ready?
Yes, Your Honor. I believe they are ready.
Okay, all rise.
Turning to a different topic now. When you first started dating
Hey,
Sean,
Jess.
what, if any, comments would he make about your physical appearance?
Oh, well, anything from I look too Mexican with my hair like that to I needed to have my nails done a certain way. I mean, he would clown my chip nail polish and dirty sneakers. That was like a thing. But appearance was very important to him, my appearance.
How soon after you started dating Sean did he start making comments like you just described?
It was pretty immediate.
What, if anything, did Sean say about how he wanted you to dress?
It varied depending on what was going on. Some days he would want me to be really sexy and be his woman. And then other days, you know, I could be on my tomboy looks and stuff like that. But he was just very involved in it. Yeah.
You mentioned your nails earlier.
Mm-hmm.
How did Sean say he wanted your nails to look?
They make Cassie
He
sound like
preferred
really
them to be
interesting.
white from the beginning of our relationship. They just always had to be done for sure, but specifically during the freak-offs, like white or French tip.
And you also mentioned how your hair was parted. How did Sean want your hair to look?
Hair, specifically when it varied.
What were some of the things he said to you about your hair?
Well, I mean, the biggest change was that I shaved my head around 2009 after talking about it for quite some time. But everything. The way it was styled that day, to the color, everything.
What else, if anything, did Sean say he wanted you to do with your physical appearance?
I mean, we had discussions about breast implants. We had tons of conversations about my body. And at that time, I mean, now I'm 38 years old and a woman. I didn't have much body to really talk about. And I was still developing. So
We do know Cassie was really naive. We saw, when you watch the playlist, we covered all of the other ones of AI that have come out, the videos, but we also covered, like, I did a video from like 19, is it 2000? I don't remember. And she was really, really young. Like, if you go back and watch the stuff, the videos or music interviews or whatever she's doing, when she started working with Diddy, you can see how naive and young she was and new to the industry. So I definitely think she was, you know, Diddy's little project. And thank you, Tadzia. Am I saying that right? I want to make sure. Wanted to bless you. I know it's not much. No, I appreciate you. Thank you so much. And Supreme View, thank you for supporting. And thank you for becoming new members. Bubs, my bad.
There may be comments about working out or just like keeping my shape a certain way when there wasn't much there to begin with.
I think it was actually
approximately how much time did you spend on your appearance weekly while you dated Sean?
All the time. If I wasn't doing my nails, I was getting a tan. If I wasn't getting a tan, I was doing some else. And more often than not, like the physical prep was for the freak offs, also to be, next to him and be his girlfriend. But yeah, I had to look a certain way during the freak offs.
Okay, we'll get back to that. How frequently did Sean comment on your appearance?
Daily.
And how common was it for Sean to make specific demands about how you looked?
It was very common.
Gotcha.
How would you feel about the comments that Sean made about your appearance?
That also varied. I mean, he kind of critiqued a lot of people around me, other artists as well. So it wasn't a shocker. But after a while, that wears down on you. When your confidence and your self-worth, definitely my self-worth took a hit for the entirety of the relationship. Just trying to establish who I was and who I wanted to be and who I was allowed to be.
Turning to a slightly different topic, you testified earlier that Sean paid rent for you at several residences. What else, if anything, did he pay for?
He paid for cars, clothing, things like that, trips we take together.
Did he ever give you money to spend?
He did, yeah.
When, if ever, did he take possessions away from you?
Oh, all the time. But that was kind of like if you're not doing what I'm asking of you, or if you're out of line in any way, I'll get my car taken away. Like I got kicked out of my house, my apartment. I would have jewelry taken away. It was very random depending on how he felt.
Besides, you mentioned your car, you mentioned jewelry, you mentioned your house.
Mm-hmm.
Is there anything else he would take away?
My self-confidence, just physical things. But at that point, to me, the physical things didn't really matter. I really just wanted his approval.
Who would typically take these items?
I mean, staff, I would assume.
I don't want you to assume, just...
I'm sorry.
No worries.
I shouldn't. If I wasn't there, it would have had to be a staff member or security, somebody that had access.
Objection to the speculation.
Sustained. The jury should disregard the witness's last answer.
Ms. Ventura, let me ask you some more specific questions. You mentioned the laptops were taken.
Mm-hmm.
What else, what, if any, other electronics were taken from you?
My phone.
Who took laptops or your phone from you?
They would be taken by Sean's direction. Somebody would come and take them. I don't.
Objection.
Same objection?
Yes.
Ms. Johnson, can you lay some foundation?
Sure. Ms. Ventura, did Sean ever take any electronics from you personally?
Yes.
Did anyone else ever take any electronics from you personally besides Sean?
Yes.
Who were those people?
Security.
Who from security?
Specifically?
Yes.
I know that D-Rock was the person that used to take things by direction.
Objection.
It's overruled.
How long, strike up? Would you get these items back when they were taken?
Yeah.
How long would they typically be gone for?
It depended on how long I was being punished for, I guess.
How were they returned to you?
Sean would give them back to me. I would go to his house and he would give them back to me.
Imagine being like a celebrity, kind of. I mean, she started really young, but if you look back at like what she's done a lot. I watched a really good video. I should play it. I'll have to go through my history and find it. That showed like everything she's done in her career. And she did a lot. So imagine being like kind of a celebrity and getting your car taken away. That's kind of wild, right? I do go live daily. Sometimes numerous times.
We've talked about a few employees so far. How frequently were you in contact with employees during your relationship?
Regularly, daily.
Ms. Gavin, can you please pull up Government Exhibit 2A301 and 2A305 for identification for the parties and the court only?
And shout out to Cassie. She was literally days away from giving birth here. Remember Balenciaga? Yeah. Who owns her masters? She gave birth like I think a couple days later, right?
Ms. Ventura, starting with a photograph on the left, do you recognize that individual?
Yes.
Who is that?
Christina Courtroom.
And turning to the photograph on the right,
Yeah,
do you recognize that individual?
Yes.
Who is that?
Tony Fletcher.
How do you recognize these individuals?
I was around them for several years while I dated Sean.
Who did they work for?
They worked for Sean.
Yeah, a couple days later.
Are these true and accurate photos of Christina Courtroom and Tony Fletcher?
Yes,
How frequently were you in Sean's residences when you dated him?
all the
It's
time.
so cute.
Which, if any, of Sean's homes had
Went by
safes?
fast.
They all did
How do you know that?
because I saw them.
And who else, to your knowledge, had access to the safe besides you?
Security. Sometimes, again, a trusted assistant.
When you say security, would that cover all the individuals whose photos we just looked at?
Yes.
How frequently did you access safes in Sean's residences?
Not super frequently, but I had access to them occasionally.
For what reason would you have access to the safes?
If Sean needed me to get money out or somebody asked me to get something out of it,
On those occasions, what, if anything, did you observe inside the safes?
I mean, there was always cash, jewelry, sometimes like tapes and SD cards from cameras, guns. Yeah, it depends on which safe.
Okay, you mentioned tapes from cameras. Are you referring to videotapes?
Yes, videotapes.
And you mentioned guns. Which residences did you see guns inside the safes?
I saw in New York, Los Angeles, and Miami, also Alpine, New Jersey.
Can you describe the size of the guns you saw inside the safes in those 4 residences?
I only ever saw handguns.
When, if ever, have you seen guns outside of Sean's safes?
A few times.
Who had the guns when you saw them outside Sean's safes?
It's pew
They were
pews,
just
lady.
laid out
Yeah, she's
by
gonna get you in
security.
trouble, AI
They were
lady.
just on the table.
Do you recall an incident involving Sean and Suge Knight?
Yes.
Were Sean and Suge Knight friends or rivals?
Rivals.
Can you describe what happened?
Oh, we know.
Sean and
Yeah.
I were having a freak off at one of his homes in LA. And I just remember we were kind of like just chilling at this point. And D-Rock came in and he said that Suge was down at Mel's Diner, which was just right down the hill. And they quickly packed up and drove down there.
What was your reaction?
I was crying. I was screaming like, please don't do anything stupid. I just was really nervous for them. I didn't know what it meant, what they were going to do.
Did they return?
They did.
Have you ever handled Sean's guns?
Handled?
Pew pew.
I've been handed, yeah, but scared.
Who handed a gun to you?
I don't know specifically who, but it was some security in the car.
Approximately when did this happen?
This happened later on in our relationship. We were going to a club hosting in downtown LA.
And what do you recall about that night?
I remember we took mushrooms and I was really like high. And I was handed the gun to just hold in my bag. But I was just freaking out the whole time that I was going to go off. I hadn't used or learned.
Remember J-Lo did that for Diddy as well? Remember? Where's J-Lo at? Where's Jenny from the Block? Someone told Jenny from the Block, we want to hear from her too. Jenny from the Block.
Operate a gun at that point. So
What did you do after the gun was in your bag?
at what point?
You mentioned that the gun that you were handed a gun in your bag.
Mm-hmm.
How long was
Not
it in your
Jenny from the
bag?
Block.
It was
now,
in my bag
huh?
for the duration of the club
Hiding.
visit.
Hiding.
So like about an hour and a half.
And how did you feel while the gun was in your bag?
Just terrified.
Hiding.
I didn't want anybody to touch me, come near me. I just stayed like sitting back.
You testified that who else was present when the gun was put in your bag?
There was a driver and security. I just don't know exactly who.
Was Sean present?
He was.
What, if anything?
Whoa. Wait, let's not forget Ellen. Where's Ellen DeGeneres? I was just watching a replay of an interview with him and I'm like, I have so many questions. She knew what was going on because if you go back and watch, she knows what she's talking about. That little Ellen DeGeneres.
Strike that. After you left the club, what did you do
Have a
with the
good
gun?
idea, Lily.
As soon as we got in the car, I gave
Yeah.
it to whoever the security was. Just didn't want it.
Yeah, they make
Why did you
Cassie
do that?
sound ditzy in this AI.
I had no idea why I had it in the first place. And I just wanted to not be holding a loaded gun if it was.
And aside from the time you just described when the gun was in your bag at the club, do you recall handling Sean's guns at any other times?
I recall handling.
Objection to Sean's guns.
I'll rephrase, Your Honor.
All right.
Aside from the time a gun was in your purse at the club, do you recall handling guns at any other times?
Yes.
Can you tell me about that?
It's a vague memory. Just, they came out here and there. The guns were taken out here and there. So just like I always felt like it was just a little bit of a scare tactic. I didn't really know for what purpose.
Where were the guns taken out from?
From the safe.
Where were the safes?
In the closet in his homes.
And whose homes were those?
Sean's.
And circling back to the Suge Knight incident, you described Sean and D-Rock packing up.
Mm-hmm.
What do you mean by packing up?
I mean, it was like, I wasn't even there. They just put on a bunch of black clothes, covered up their heads, went in the safe, grabbed guns, and next thing I knew, they were in the SUV, just.
Objection to foundation and knowledge.
Miss Johnson, can you lay some foundation on knowledge?
Sure. After you saw them pack up, what did you see them do?
I saw them get dressed and leave the house.
And you mentioned they returned, is that correct?
Yes.
Approximately how long between when they left did they return?
It really wasn't that long. I couldn't imagine. It was probably like definitely less than an hour. 30 minutes, 30, 45 tops.
I want to turn to a different topic now.
Okay.
You testified early on that Sean mentioned voyeurism to you. Do you recall that testimony?
Yes.
How did Sean describe voyeurism to you?
He described voyeurism as a fantasy that he had where he would want to see me with another male and having sexual interaction, talking. Yeah.
Okay.
He would watch.
What, if anything, did Sean say to you about swinging?
Swinging was brought up separately, and it was a lifestyle that he taught me about couples that switch partners. And yeah, I didn't really have too much knowledge of it.
And you testified earlier that you eventually started having freak-offs with Sean. Do you recall that testimony?
Yes.
How did freak-offs that you did compare to how Sean described voyeurism to you?
Can you rephrase that?
Sure, of course. Let's talk about the freak-offs first. I think that would be easier. How soon into the relationship did Sean mention voyeurism to you?
It was within the first 6 months to a year. It was very early.
And what, if anything, did Sean say about the identity of the other person who would be involved in the sex acts?
He said we wouldn't know them, that it would be more likely be a stranger, an escort, or a dancer.
Earlier, you testified that Sean physically hurt you in your relationship. Do you recall that testimony?
Yeah.
Relative to when Sean first started physically hurting you, did the conversation about voyeurism happen?
Relatively close together, I would say.
Which one happened first?
There was abuse first, and then the conversation after.
To be clear, the conversation about voyeurism?
Conversation about voyeurism.
What was your reaction when Sean told you about voyeurism?
I was shocked. I wasn't expecting that. I just felt really like at a loss. I didn't know how to react. I didn't want to upset him if I said that it scared me or if I said anything outside of, okay, let's try it. Because I was always just down for the things that he wanted to do. I was really nervous. Really, really nervous.
Approximately how old were you when Sean first proposed freak-offs to you?
I think I just turned 22.
And how long after Sean mentioned his interest in seeing you have sex with another man was the first freak-off?
Within the first 2 to 3 months of him telling me about it.
Why did you agree to try a freak-off?
That's a great question. I wanted to make him happy. I was in a really significantly mature relationship that I don't think I was prepared for now when I look at it. But yeah, I loved him. I didn't want him to think that I thought anything bad of him for it. I just wanted to make him happy.
Where was the first freak-off?
It was at one of the homes that he was renting in Los Angeles.
And where inside the home?
In his bedroom.
Ms. Gavin, can you pull up for identification only government exhibit 2A6
Diddy's so nasty.
27 for the court and the parties? Ms. Ventura, do you recognize who is depicted in government exhibit 2A627?
Yes.
Who is that?
That is the first escort that we ever had an encounter with.
Thank you,
Okay,
Dustin.
when you say encounter, do you mean a freak off?
A freak off, yeah.
Okay. Is this a fair and accurate photograph of the escort?
Yes.
The government offers Government Exhibit 2A627.
No objection.
It will be admitted.
Can you please publish that for the jury, Ms. Gavin? Ms. Ventura, do you know the name of the individual depicted in Government Exhibit 2A627?
I don't remember.
If I refer to him as the first escort, will you know who I'm talking about?
Yes.
What did you understand his occupation to be?
I understood him to be a dancer, a stripper in Vegas, I think.
At this first freak off, are you aware if the first escort was
Hey,
paid?
Sugar Goddess.
Yeah, he was paid.
What was he paid to do?
We're watching Cassie testify AI version. Welcome. Thank you for subscribing. There's no live cameras and live streams because it's a federal case. So they're not allowed to.
He was paid to entertain, to
Which
dance,
sucks.
and to have intercourse with me.
Who arranged the first escort to be present at the first freak off?
Sean did.
What, if any, drugs did you take at the first freak off?
We took ecstasy and drank alcohol.
Oh, jeez.
And earlier you
AI.
testified that ecstasy is a pressed pill. Is that right?
Yes.
Was there any particular kind of ecstasy you took at the first freak off?
Those were the blue dolphins that I spoke about earlier.
The same pills from Miami?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
At what point in the freak off did you first take the ecstasy?
Before anything started.
Who provided the ecstasy to you?
Sean.
What did you wear at the first freak off?
Specifically, I don't know
Yes, couldn't read
exactly,
after
but
this one.
it was definitely an outfit from a sex store, Hustler, or something with some really high platform shoes, dancing shoes.
What, if anything, did you do to disguise your appearance?
On the first meeting, Sean told me that we would wear masks, so I wore a masquerade mask, and
You described the really tall platform heels. Who, if anyone, told you to wear those heels?
Sean did.
Can you please describe what happened at the first freak off?
After we took the drugs, he had a conversation. Sean had a conversation with the dancer. And then shortly after, he came down to the room and performed and stood in the doorway and danced for a little while I just watched and while Sean watched us.
What happened next?
It was just a gradual, I should say every freak off was like directed by Sean. Like he knew specifically where he wanted everyone to be, the lighting and such. So over that first session, we just kind of like ended up getting closer and closer and talking to each other, and then eventually had to put oil on each other. Yeah.
Yeah.
You use the word session.
Yeah, this
What do you
AI is totally verbatim. It's from
mean
the
by
transcript.
session?
A session in a freak off would be like one full time, with the escort until basically they finished. They ejaculated.
Would a session include all of the sex acts that led up to ejaculation?
Yeah, it would be pretty standard. Yeah.
Do you recall how many sessions you had with the first escort at the first freak off?
I believe we had at least 2.
And you testified earlier that the first escort was paid. How were you aware that he was paid?
I knew because Sean told me
What, if anything, did Sean say to you about paying the escort?
that he had to go pay him, and he went and paid him.
Approximately how much, if you know, was the escort paid?
I don't know specifically. I just know that escorts were paid in the thousands.
After this first freak off, how did you feel?
Well, I was high, so there wasn't too much feeling. I think it was a mixture of dirty and confusion with like, okay, he's really happy with me and I did something right. So just really confusing. I didn't know what was going to happen after that. I didn't know if we were going to be doing it more frequently because I was willing to. I didn't know. So
what, if anything, did you tell Sean about how you felt about the first freak off?
I honestly don't remember.
Did there come a time when Sean proposed another freak off?
Yes.
How soon after?
It was pretty soon after, within weeks.
How would you respond?
It was the same nervousness feeling, like what am I going to do? Do I can't say no. Like, I've already done it. And ultimately, I said yes.
Why did you feel you couldn't say no?
Just didn't want to make him upset.
Hey, girl,
Yeah, I didn't want to make him upset. I didn't want to make him angry and regret having told me about his experience that was so personal. His trust meant a lot to me at that point.
What concerns, if any, did you have about Sean becoming upset with you?
There were concerns.
Objection leading.
Grounds? Did you say leading?
Yes.
That's overruled.
Ms. Ventura, do you want me to re-ask the question?
Please.
You testify that you were concerned that Sean might be upset with you?
Yeah.
What concerns, if any, did you have if Sean was upset with you?
His anger, really. His mood changed, like what that was going to do to the rest of the day. And just how he felt about me and our relationship. So it could be different things.
How frequently did you have freak-offs with Sean after they started?
After they started, they became almost weekly, I would say.
Wow.
And how, if at all, did that frequency change over time?
It became more, depending on if we were spending time with each other, it would become less, but it was weekly for a consistent amount of years.
Who's,
And
like,
approximately
keeping her
what
out?
year was the last freak-off?
The final freak off? 2017, 2018.
And you testified earlier that the approximate duration of a freak-off was, I think, like 2 to 3 days. Do you recall that testimony?
Yes.
Is that accurate?
Yes.
How long were you awake during the freak-offs?
The whole time.
Did you get any sleep?
No.
Did you want any sleep?
Yes.
How did you stay awake the whole time?
The drugs honestly helped.
What kind of drugs kept you awake?
Well, ecstasy and Molly for sure. We started to do other drugs like cocaine later on.
Oh my gosh.
Who gave the ecstasy?
Sean.
Who gave the Molly?
Sean.
Who gave you the cocaine?
Sean.
You testified earlier that the longest freak-off was
Did he
4
like,
days.
no,
Do
I
you remember
didn't.
that testimony?
Yes.
Who decided when a freak-off was over?
I mean, ultimately it would be Sean. Discuss it and say, this is the last one. And then hopefully that would be the last one.
And when you say the last one, are you referring to a session?
To a session, yes.
Between when the freak-offs started and when they ended in approximately 2017 or 2018, do you recall every freak-off you participated in?
No, that would be impossible.
Thank you, Supreme View.
What are some of the reasons that would be impossible?
The frequency, the drug use, it was crazy times.
In that same time period, did you want to engage in every freak-off that you participated in?
No.
Why is that?
I just felt like it was all I was good for to him. I just felt pretty horrible about myself. I felt disgusting. I was humiliated. I didn't have those words to like put together at the time, like how horrible I really felt. And I couldn't talk to anybody about it. So.
You testified a few moments ago that you did freak-offs because you did not want to make Sean angry.
Yeah.
During your relationship, what did Sean do when he was
He
angry?
got her hooked on rugs.
He would be violent with me. His look would just change over. He would just become a different person and just didn't know what was going to happen.
When you say his look would change over, what do you mean by that?
The best way for me to describe it is like his eyes would go black. It's the version of him that I was in love with was no longer there.
Were there any parts of freak-offs that you enjoyed?
The time spent with him.
And what about the time spent with him did you enjoy?
Just at the time, I'm sorry. Just the one-on-one time I would get because there were always so many people around and I didn't feel very close to him. So as sad as it was, I thought that like it was the only time I could get.
And when you said
That's
the
so
only
sad.
time you could get, are you referring to the freak-offs?
Yeah, yes.
And specifically, are you referring to the one-on-one time with Sean?
Yes.
Okay. What, if any, discussions did you have with Sean about not wanting to participate in freak-offs?
I definitely brought it up, but gently, because I didn't want to upset him or make him angry with me for even sharing it. But I just treaded lightly when I would bring it up. Sometimes I would email him about it, like, I didn't want to. I just didn't want anything bad to happen.
When you say you didn't want anything bad to happen, what did you mean by bad?
I mean, anything bad could be him being violent, but also just him saying, okay, well, I'll find somebody else to do it with. Like, when you really care about somebody and you're in love with them, you don't want to disappoint them. So.
When you had talked to Sean about how you were feeling, how much of your concerns were you able to express to him?
Objection leading.
Maybe you can rephrase.
Sure. Ms. Ventura, you said earlier that you would talk to Sean gently about how you were feeling. Do you recall
Baby
that?
oil dripping down the
Yes.
walls.
Why would you talk to him gently?
I just never wanted him to feel like I judged him for it. But I wanted him to know that, doing this made me feel horrible. It made me feel worthless, that, I didn't have anything else to offer him.
How would he respond when you would say things to him like this?
He was pretty dismissive. I find that I expressed myself quite a bit, and it just kind of went like he didn't really care, like it was unheard.
Objection.
Grounds?
Speculating about whether or not he really cared.
That's overruled.
Ms. Ventura, you said Sean was dismissive.
Yes.
When you expressed these concerns, what did he do?
I'm sorry.
It's okay. You testified that Sean was dismissive. Do you remember that?
Yes.
What would he say to you when you expressed concerns?
He would call me predictable. He would be like, I know you don't want to do freak offs anymore. I already know what you're thinking. At that point, I would try to backpedal and say, no. I was predictable.
How frequently would this happen?
Frequently enough. Yeah. I said it more than once, more than a handful of times.
Ms. Ventura, Ms. Gavin, can you please pull up for identification for the parties and the court-only government exhibits 3A107? Ms. Ventura, do you recognize what this document is?
Yes.
What is it?
It's an email between me and Sean.
Oh my God.
How do you recognize it?
Our names.
And is this a true and accurate communication between you and Sean?
Yes.
The government would offer government exhibit 3A117 at this time pursuant to the stipulation in government exhibit 1302 paragraph 1.
No objection.
All right. It will be admitted.
Ms. Gavin, could you please publish to the jury if it's possible to put page 1 and page 2 side by side? Ms. Ventura, I'm going to direct you to the very bottom communication on page 2. Do you see where that is?
I think
Yes.
Cassie really did love
Okay.
him too.
Who was that communication from?
At the very bottom is from me.
Okay. The name says BG New Pin.
Yeah, baby girl was the name I was called.
Is baby girl a name Sean called you?
Yes.
Who was this communication to?
This was to Pop Pop.
Who is Pop Pop?
Sean.
Why did you call Sean Pop Pop?
There was a period early on in our relationship where he wanted me to have a nickname for him, but I didn't want to call him anything that anyone else had called him. So he asked me what I called my grandfather, and I said Pop Pop.
How did you feel about
That's
calling Sean the
crazy.
same name you called your grandfather?
I thought it was weird at the
No.
time, and now I just feel like it was disrespectful.
What's the date of the first message?
April 19th, 2010.
Okay, one more question about nicknames for you.
I'm not
Besides
gonna
baby
stop.
girl, are there any other nicknames that Sean had for you?
He called me Cece.
What does CC stand for?
Cassie Combs.
In this first message,
Cassie
what
Combs.
is the subject line?
It says, I really need to.
Who sent the email?
I did.
How did Sean respond to your message in the next communication?
He says, so who are you going to want to call someone?
What is your understanding of what want to call someone is referencing?
Want to call someone is like, want to call an escort for a freak off?
And when you sent the communication, I really need to. Why did you send that?
Because I wanted to be with him, and that was my way of saying it.
And when you said you wanted to be with him, are you referring to Sean?
Sean specifically, yes.
During your relationship with Sean, who did you want to have sex with?
I wanted to have sex with him.
Did you want to have sex with the escort?
Diddy, not with the
No.
escorts.
So turning now, Ms. Gavin, we can take that down. If you could
So
blow up the bottom communications on page 1. So directing your attention to the first communication, your response. What do you respond to Sean saying, want to call someone?
I say, I want you. Are you crazy?
Why do you respond that way?
Because that's exactly how I felt, and I didn't want to call anyone.
So, Ms. Gavin, if you could take that down. So starting from that point, I'm going to read Sean's messages and you'll read your messages through to the end.
Okay. So, just joking. I want to talk to you about something tomorrow. Going to sleep. Love you. Is it going to stress me out? What is it about? Freak off. It can wait. It's not a big deal. Now you don't want to do it anymore? Oh, I already know. You're so predictable. Really? Okay. Since that's definitely what it was, we'll leave it at that then, since I'm so predictable. Have a good night. Whatever, baby. I'm not going to play no games with you, and you ain't going to keep shutting me down. I'm not shutting you down, I never do. If anything, it's always the other way around. I wasn't going to say I didn't want to do it anymore. What were you going to say?
So directing your attention to Sean's message in about the middle of the page, saying, now you don't want to do anymore. What do you understand him to be referring to in that message?
That he knew I didn't want to do the freak-offs anymore.
And how did you react after Sean sent this message where he said, now you don't want to do anymore? I already know, you're so predictable.
I mean, I tried to backpedal. I said, yeah, okay, since that definitely is what it was, just kind of playing it off or trying to.
Why would you backpedal in situations like this?
Janice, nice.
Because I didn't want to make him angry. Like,
directing your attention to, I'm sorry, Ms. Gavin, can you take that down? The top, if you can blow up the top, please, the first two. Directing your attention to the end of your message here where you said, I wasn't going to say I didn't want to do it anymore. Do you see that?
Yes.
Is that accurate?
Accurately how I felt?
Yes.
No.
Why did you say that if it wasn't how you felt?
Oh, I didn't do it, Mama.
Just didn't.
Thanks.
I really didn't want to make him think I didn't want to do it anymore. I didn't want him to be upset or not trust me.
You said you didn't want him to be upset. During your relationship, what did Sean do when he was upset?
He would be a scary person. He could be violent, or also just somehow figure out how to make it happen anyway, no matter how uncomfortable it
going to her belly.
When you say make it happen anyway, what does that refer to?
The freak off.
Okay. Ms. Gavin, can you take down this exhibit?
No, it is. It is the exact transcript. It's just AI.
Freak-offs. In the beginning, was Sean open at the freak-offs about his true identity?
He was not.
How, if at all, did he disguise his identity?
Well, he started with the masquerade masks. Sometimes he would wear a hat or something covering his face.
Were you open about your true identity?
I was not either.
And what, if anything, did you do to hide your identity?
The same thing as far as the mask. I would wear wigs.
Who asked you to wear a wig?
Sean.
Who asked you to wear a mask?
Sean.
Over the period of time that you did freak-offs with Sean, did you always wear wigs and masks?
No, not always.
How did that change?
Eventually, I don't think it was too difficult to figure out who he was because he would talk. But eventually just be comfortable enough with the escort or person that was there to just remove the coverings.
Beside the wig and mask, what other clothes would you wear for freak-offs?
Always super see-through netting outfit. It varied. Just sexy outfit from a sex store.
What are some of the stores you would buy outfits at?
In LA, there's a store called Pleasure Chest, Hustler on Sunset. Here in the city, there's just little shops everywhere.
In addition to the outfit you described, did you wear shoes?
I did every time, yeah.
What kind of shoes?
The Lucite stripper dance shoes, yeah.
What kind of heels do those shoes have?
Extremely high heels.
Who decided what you would wear to freak-offs?
I would purchase outfits and show Sean and see what he liked best.
Would you wear the outfit that Sean selected?
Oh, wow.
Yep.
And with respect to the high heels you talked about, for how long would you wear those high heels during the freak-off?
I would wear them throughout. If there was a break, I might take them off, but yeah, throughout.
What conversations, if any, did you have with Sean about preparing your physical appearance for a freak-off?
He would just ask me did you get a wax? Are your nails done? Do you have a tan? Just basic list.
How long did it take to prepare your physical appearance for a freak-off?
Pimping her out.
It could take all of that daytime.
Would that be taken up by things you mentioned, like getting your nails done, getting a wax, getting a tan?
Getting supplies, everything, yeah.
What, if any, body piercings did you have while you were dating Sean?
I had my nipples pierced, and prior to way back, I had my belly button pierced and a hood piercing.
Okay, so starting with the nipple piercing, when did you get the nipple piercing?
I initially got one with a friend and took it out. This was like early on in LA. I just took it out. And then he made a suggestion that I do both, so the next week I went and did both. Yeah.
When you say he made a suggestion that you do both, who is he?
Sean.
And what does both refer to?
Both nipples.
Did you want to pierce both nipples?
At the time, I think I did. I took the initial one out because of the pain, but I thought it looked cool.
And you mentioned a hood piercing?
Mm-hmm.
What's that?
It's a piercing that like basically sits on your clitoris.
And when did you get that piercing?
I got that shortly after the nipple piercings.
Why did you get that piercing?
Sean's suggestion. He actually came with me, yeah.
Earlier, you testified that the first freak-off was at Sean's house. Do you remember that testimony?
Yes.
Were there other freak-offs at his house?
Yes, there were others.
Which of his homes did you have freak-offs in?
I would say mostly all of them, except for Mapleton.
Does that include his home in Miami?
Yes.
Does that include his apartment in New York City?
Yes.
And besides his home, what, if any, other homes did you have freak-offs at?
In my apartments, my homes.
Which of your homes did you have freak-offs at?
It was just out of the blue.
I think all of them, except for the Studio City house.
So does that include the West End address in New York?
Yes.
Does that include 818 Doheny?
Yes.
Does that include 875 Comstock?
Yes.
And besides homes and apartments, at what other locations did freak-offs occur?
Hotels mostly.
And in what cities did you have freak-offs with Sean and a male escort?
New York, Miami, Los Angeles, Atlanta, Ibiza, Spain, Turks and Caicos, random places.
What about Las Vegas?
Vegas as well.
So going through, you mentioned New York City. What are some of the hotels that you had freak-offs at in New York?
New York would be the London, Trump Hotel, Gramercy. Honestly, you name it, we probably did it there.
What about the Intercontinental Hotel?
44th Street, yeah.
In LA, what are some of the hotels you had freak-offs?
L'Hermitage was frequent, Beverly Hills Hotel, the London there as well. Shutters on the Beach, there's, where else? Other places.
What about the Intercontinental in LA?
Century City, thank you, yeah.
And in Miami, what are some of the hotels where you had freak-offs?
Mandarin Oriental, Satai, Fontainebleau, the One Hotel, yeah.
What types of rooms were freak-offs usually held in?
They were usually held in like a room that had a living room that you could close the door, or like an extra room with an additional bathroom. So like a small suite, junior suite.
Who, if you know, booked the hotel rooms?
It varied. Sometimes it was someone like Tony Fletcher on staff. Occasionally I would book hotel rooms. Yeah.
Who, if you know, paid for the hotel rooms?
I'm shook.
I believe Sean paid for the hotel rooms.
What are some of the names that were used on hotel reservations?
Jackie Starr was the name that I used. Frank Black, Frank White, there were all types of names.
Turning to Jackie Starr, why did you use the name Jackie Starr?
That was a name that I don't know who came up with it, if it was him or me. That I used to actually book dancers, so I would use that name instead of my own name, and then just started using it as a hotel room name.
And you also mentioned Frank White and Frank Black?
Mm-hmm.
Whose aliases were Frank White or Frank Black?
They were Sean's.
What, if any, supplies were needed for freak-offs?
Main supplies were baby oil, Astroglide, lubricants, and condoms.
Who typically brought the supplies to freak-offs?
More often than not, it was staff. The room was usually stocked by the time we got there. If not, if it were a last-minute situation and I set it up, I would get the things, or sometimes Sean would bring them.
When you say staff, whose staff are you referring to?
Sean's staff.
Which positions on Sean's staff would be tasked with stocking the hotel rooms?
Assistant, security.
You mentioned baby oil. What brand of baby oil was used?
Johnson's baby oil.
How was the baby oil used during the freak-off?
It was It was just as
Diddy
important as
kept Johnson
everything
and
else as
Johnson
being
in
there.
business.
We used it quite a bit.
Where was it? Where was the baby oil placed?
We poured it all over our bodies. Had to be glistening. Yeah,
What participants in the freak-off, if
Everywhere.
any, used the baby oil?
everyone.
Would that include you?
Yes,
Does that include the escort?
yes,
Baby
Did that
oil
include
for
Sean?
everyone.
yes.
What temperature was the baby oil when it was poured on your body?
It was always heated. And like, keep the cap on, put it in the sink with hot water and let it warm up.
Who wanted the baby oil to be heated?
Sean.
You mentioned that the baby oil was used because you had to be glistening.
Mm-hmm.
Who told you that you needed to be glistening?
Sean, it was his preference.
How frequently would baby oil be applied to be glistening?
Like every 5 minutes. It was a lot.
What, if any, comments would Sean make about needing to apply baby oil?
He
Every
would,
5 minutes?
if he felt like you were too dry, he would let you know.
What would he say?
He would say,
What?
you're too dry. You need to put more oil on, or you need to be glistening. You need to be, you need to be shining. Yeah.
Who directed the application of baby oil during freak
Oil
offs?
up, baby. Oil up.
I would say that was heavily on Sean. Occasionally, I would say that we needed more too because I just knew what to do.
Why did you know what to do?
It was a very choreographed experience.
Who choreographed the experience?
Sean.
During the freak offs, who applied baby oil to you?
I applied it to myself, sometimes Sean, sometimes the escort.
Would you,
That's why he had that 1,000 bottles. Remember?
you
Jane?
apply baby
Remember?
oil to
Remember?
anyone?
Baby oil for everyone.
Sometimes with the escort,
You
sometimes
get
to
baby
Sean.
oil for your butt.
How did you usually apply baby oil?
You just squirt it on out of the bottle.
Were there other ways of applying oil at a freak off?
There was one time where I got to, I think it was at Le Mirage in Beverly Hills, and there was a pool, like a blow-up pool, and it was filled with lube and oil. So that was a different way.
When there was a blow up pool that was filled with lube and oil, what did you do with the pool?
I don't know what happened with the pool, honestly.
I'm sorry, strike that. When there
I'll
was
never
a
look
pool
at baby
and
oil.
did you get into the pool?
I did, with my outfit, my shoes. It was quite dangerous.
Who, if anyone, asked you to get into the pool?
Sean, it was his idea.
Did you want to get into a pool of baby oil?
No, especially not in a hotel room like that. It was such a mess. It was like, what are we doing? Yeah.
Why did you get into the pool with baby oil?
Horrified.
At that point, I couldn't say no. It would have been all bad. Where I don't. When you say all bad, what do you mean?
Objection calls for speculation.
Your Honor, the witness just used.
I think just the verbiage is a little vague. I think you can ask a more focused question and you'll get a response.
Sure. You testified that if you did not get into the pool with baby oil, that it would be bad.
Yeah.
What concerns did you have about not getting into the pool with baby oil?
That, amongst other things, just his temper. If that was something that he wanted, Sean wanted to happen, that's what was going to happen. There wasn't another way around it.
Approximately how many bottles of baby oil would be used in a typical freak off?
A lot. I would say definitely somewhere close to 10.
What size were those bottles?
Insane.
The larger size bottles.
Were there freak offs where you ran out of baby oil?
Objection, Your Honor, at this point is getting a little cumulative.
Let's see if we can wrap this up and move on.
You mentioned
No.
Astroglide.
It's
How was
important
that
to
used
know.
at the freak off?
Same objection, irrelevant.
Your Honor, it's a supply.
Sidebar. Miss Johnson, maybe you could help us with where we're going right now. I think the objection is grounded in lack of relevance and also the cumulative nature of the questioning. Am I right about that?
That's right.
Maybe if you can give us some guidance as to where we're going next, that will be helpful.
Yes, Your Honor. We are going to go through the various supplies that were used because those are supplies that were demanded by the defendant, that were at every freak-off, that were consistent, which showed a pattern, which showed how he controlled the events that happened at these freak-offs. I will not ask any more oil questions. I have one more question on lubricant, but I'm going to march through the different supplies that were present.
That's fine. I understood the objection to be mainly on the cumulative nature of this. I think we had about 20 questions on baby oil issues, and I think we can condense that a little bit, and you'll avoid the objection. Is that fair?
That's fair.
Mr. Agnifilo?
I was going to say slippery slope, but I'm not going to say it.
Ms. Johnson, you may proceed.
I need to know. Yeah, you guys are all saying funny things. You're funny. But yeah, what do you guys use baby oil for? Let me know. Do you use Johnson & Johnson's baby oil? Yeah, which do they still use that on babies?
And we were just talking about Astroglide. How was the Astroglide used at Freakoffs?
Here's the Astroglide.
As a lubricant.
With respect to those two supplies, baby oil or Astroglide, were there times when you ran out of them?
Yes.
What would happen when you ran out?
When we would run out, we would have to either call somebody, staff to bring it, or ask the bell desk and give them a tip.
Just
when you say staff, whose staff are you talking about?
Sean's staff.
Never used it on a baby.
Which members of Sean's staff would resupply the hotel rooms?
Assistants, usually.
Who would call the staff members?
Sean would advise me, or he would call himself.
And you also mentioned calling the bell desk. Who would call the bell desk?
Yeah, I know people use
Again,
it for
either me or him.
If you called, at whose direction would you be calling?
I haven't used
Sean's.
Initially, what kind of lighting was used for Freakoffs?
Initially, it was candlelit, so various candles.
Who decided what kind of lighting would be used?
Sean.
What type of candles were used?
At a time, just really strong smelling candles, like Glade or Diptyque. Any just really strong smelling.
So
who would typically bring the candles to the Freakoffs?
It was all part of the setup. So whether it was an assistant or me or him.
Approximately how many candles were used?
Approximately 6 to 10.
How were the candles placed in the room?
They were placed so that Sean could see me and the escort in the candlelight.
Who requested the candle setup?
Sean.
Besides lighting, were there any other uses of candle wax at Freakoffs?
A couple of times where it was poured on the body, but it wasn't common.
Wow.
When you say poured on the body, whose body was it poured on?
My own or Sean's.
And whose decision was it to pour wax on either your body or Sean's body?
Sean's.
Did the lighting that was used in Freakoffs change over time?
Yes. There were lights after a certain point, like the lights that we would use in a studio.
Can you describe what the light you would use in the studio is?
There were multicolored lights that changed with the music, kind of like a club light.
What colors are those lights?
Red, green, blue, purple.
Who made the decision to change the lighting?
Not the
Sean would
DJ
have
light.
assistants bring the lights, so I guess him.
Ms. Gavin, can you pull up for identification Government Exhibit 3Q118 for the parties and the court only? Ms. Ventura, do you recognize who's in this photograph?
Yes.
At what type of location is this photograph taken?
To me, it looks like a hotel. It looks like the London Hotel in New York.
Who took this photograph?
I believe I did.
Is this a true and accurate photograph of Sean?
Yes. The government offers Government Exhibit 3Q118.
No objection.
It will be admitted.
Ms. Gavin, can you please publish Government Exhibit 3Q118 to the jury? Ms. Ventura, directing your attention to Sean's hand, what is he holding?
He's holding cash.
How do you describe the color of the room?
It's red from the studio light.
Is the studio lighting you described earlier responsible for the red color?
Yeah.
You can take that down, Ms. Gavin. What temperature were the rooms where the Freakoffs were held?
They were usually pretty warm.
Who set the temperature?
Sean.
And you described that the candles were strong. How did the room smell during Freakoffs?
I mean, if it were a Glade candle and a bunch of them, Angel Whispers, if anybody knows what that smells like, just on 10, it was super pungent and strong mixed with oil and just all of the other scents.
What other scents were there?
I mean, it was warm, so body odor, you know?
After a Freakoff, can you describe the condition of the room where the Freakoff was held?
The room was usually pretty bad off. There was oil all over the walls, the door handles, the bed, the sheets. We often would get to the room. I would need to call and ask for extra linens and towels and stuff like that to try to mitigate these problems. But oil, candle wax all over the place.
You mentioned you would call for extra linens. When would you do that?
Prior to starting.
Why would you call for extra linens?
To cover up the furniture that was there to try to protect it.
You described wax and oil damage. What, if anything else, was soiling the linens?
Sometimes blood, urine.
So starting with blood, how would blood get on the linens at freak-offs?
I was expected to have freak-offs on my period.
Who expected you to do freak-offs on your period?
Sean.
Did you want to do freak-offs on your period?
What?
No, I don't think anybody really wants to
Baby
do that.
oil, blood.
Before leaving the
Sweat.
hotel, what,
Oh.
if anything, did you do to clean up the linens you described?
I mean, there really wasn't too much you could do but give a good tip and hope they would help out. I would just try to clean up what I could. Usually like an assistant or staff or somebody would come, I believe, after.
Are you aware if hotels
That I
charged
just-
for damage to the rooms?
I am.
Wild.
How do you know that?
Through conversations with the staff that got a call from the hotel, I remember specifically like a number that was crazy. It was having to redecorate the room. It was a really high number to fix it.
Are you aware which hotel charged that really high number?
That was the Intercontinental in New York.
Do you remember the person that I referred to as the first escort?
He
Yeah.
liked that.
Were there other
He liked
escorts
that.
that you used besides the first escort?
Yes.
And after the first escort, who typically found escorts for freak-offs?
I was put on the task to find escorts.
And who, if anyone, put you on that task?
Sean did.
What, if any, requirements, physical or otherwise, did Sean have for escorts?
At first, it was very specific that he wanted a black male with a large penis, but eventually it just kind of became whatever's available.
Where did you find escorts to hire?
When it became really consistent, we had found an escort service called Cowboys for Angels, and they have escorts in like all the major cities in the US.
Before using Cowboys for Angels, how did you find escorts?
We're learning.
Initially Craigslist or Backpage or whatever.
What is Craigslist?
Craigslist is the website where you can put up ads and sell your bed and other things. It's just where you can place ads.
Besides placing ads, can you also respond to ads?
You can also respond to ads.
Did you post any ads to Craigslist?
No,
Did you respond to ads?
I did.
At whose direction did you respond to ads?
At Sean's direction. He told me what to look for.
Your Honor, I'm not sure when the court was planning on taking a break this afternoon.
I was planning on doing it at 3 o'clock. But if this is a good place, we can take it now.
I think it would be a good place.
Thank you, members of the jury. As always, do not talk to each other about the case, and we'll have some further instructions.
Okay, that is wild. You guys need to go back in on my Diddy playlist. We've covered all the videos that are out in AI because not the whole trial is out yet. They're doing it like, I think day by day or something. I'm not sure. Not even. But I believe I've done 4 of them. So make sure you guys go back and watch. It's really good. It's really, really good. I dig it. I dig the AI. Since we can't watch it, you know, it sucks. Like we can't watch this federal case. Well, I had enough baby oil talk for tonight. Thanks for being here. We have another live after this. We are covering Karen Reed as well. I'm behind, so don't come for me. But I'm going to try to do a couple of days tonight. They wanted money. Okay. Everyday regular people create these types of spaces. You know, every day that passes, I just get more disgusted with Diddy. I don't know what's going to happen in this trial. I really don't. But we'll see. Will Diddy be found guilty or no? Was Mia credible or no? Let me know what you guys think. Make sure you hit the like button on the way out. Karen Reed in a little bit. So I'll see you guys there. And I'll also see you tomorrow if you can't make it tonight for the Karen Reed. Thank you for the support and thank you for being here. And hello and welcome to all new subs and viewers. Thanks for being here. I'll see you on the next one.